Zelda Invades Marvel. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 51 Great Friendship. Iron Man and Captain America playing volleyball together. The picture is beautiful. Bang. This is the 6th time Tony and Rogers collided with each other. Their shoulders collided. Rogers stood firmly, while Tony flew out and fell into the sand. Tony said angrily, "Captain, can't you have a little team spirit? You are a World War II hero, and I'm a business elite. I can't lose to these two kids." Rogers put his hands on his hips and frowned. Sorry, it must be said that working with Tony is a very tiring thing. He always wants to take on everything and is not content to guard his own area. Compared with the chaos here, Link and Zelda are very happy. The two have a close relationship and tacit cooperation. Even if there is a slight conflict and accidentally bump into each other, Link just stretches out his hand to hold Zelda's waist, and the two turn around and everything is fine. It looks very sweet. Rogers wanted to do the same, but Tony flatly refused. "Let me knock him away. Otherwise it will feel too weird." Tony scratched his head hard, and sand fell from his hair. Tony shouted, "Time out." Then he put a hand on Rogers' shoulder. "Listen, this won't work. I tell you what I think. I want to win. I'm the smartest man in the world. Volleyball is a sport that pays more attention to tactics than reaction ability and speed. Next, listen to my command. I will use my extraordinary wisdom to lead us to victory." Rogers was a little confused. "It's just a game. You can't take it so seriously, right?" Tony's voice was full of bewitching meaning. "Oh, a game? Do you really think so? Rogers, what else?" Tony pointed his finger at himself, then at Rogers. "Don't you want to beat Link once? Don't you want to be better than Link in the formal battlefield?" Tony's words persuaded Rogers. Rogers really wanted to compete with Link, but he couldn't do what Tony did, taking advantage of his drunkenness to find an opportunity to drag Link into a fight. So the two people who had different personalities but shared a common hatred for the enemy because Link was too dazzling joined together. Rogers said in a deep voice, "Okay, I'll listen to you. Let's go." Tony also hummed, "Link and Zelda are just children after all. They are not as good as us in using brains. We will crush him with tactics." Rogers whispered, "Okay." Link just went to the sidelines to drink a sip of water and saw Tony and Rogers suddenly burning with momentum and fighting. Link was speechless. What's wrong with these two people? 5 minutes later. Bang. Link hit the ball hard and hit the ball into the sand on the corner, and the sand exploded. Rogers failed to save the ball and collided with Tony. Yeah. Zelda ran over and clapped Link's hands. The two had a lot of fun. Rogers said angrily, "Where are your tactics?" Tony panted, holding his hands on the sand. "The most outstanding general is useless when he meets confused soldiers." Rogers snorted angrily, "It's a mistake to team up with you." Tony shot back, "That's right. If you are a teammate with Link, you can win, even if you stand upside down in the corner." Rogers said, "You really don't have any self-knowledge at all." Tony retorted, "Yes. I overestimated my ability and thought I could win the game without your drag." Rogers couldn't argue with Tony and said coldly, "Okay, let's go one-on-one." Tony stood up, "Come on. Wait for me to get my battle suit back first." Rogers, "Without that layer of armor, what are you?" Tony laughed, "Genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist." Rogers, "Put on your armor and let's fight." Link saw that the situation was not right and looked at Zelda and hurried over. Link was not afraid that the conflict between the two would cause casualties. Anyway, Link always kills them with one punch. Tony turned around and said, "Link, excuse me, I'll let you watch for a while. This old man from the 1940s wants to compete with me. I respect the old and love the young. I can't refuse." Zelda and Link looked dumbfounded. So they sat on the beach and watched two serious men throwing the ball to each other. Rogers was strong, and although Tony was not as exaggerated, he also had a lot of muscles, so he looked a little weird. The girls who were sunbathing nearby watched the two men throwing the ball enthusiastically and flirting with each other. They laughed weirdly. As for the innocent Link and Zelda, they were driven down and had to play with Peppa. Zelda and Link sat, while Peppa stood. The three of them formed a triangle and threw the volleyball to each other. Peppa ran around and had a lot of fun. As a result, Tony didn't notice that he was a hot figure who occupied the headlines of newspapers as soon as he appeared, and Rogers also exposed his identity because he appeared in New York in advance during the blood moon. For a time, there were different opinions, speculating whether this was the real Captain America or a disguised liar. So it soon attracted the wolf pack. First, tourists who recognized them surrounded them, and the two were stopped from playing. The reporter got the news from somewhere and rushed over, and soon it became a mess. The reporter held out the microphone and asked, "Mr. Stark, what is your relationship with Captain America? Why do you play volleyball with him? When did you become friends? May I ask how you evaluate this World War II hero who woke up after sleeping for 70 years? Tony and Rogers are both very skilled in dealing with the media. It's just that the two of them had blood in their eyes during the game just now, but now they were surrounded and misunderstood as good friends by the people around them, which made them feel very uncomfortable." Tony said, "Ahem. Mr. Rogers and my father know each other. We in the Stark family admire Captain America, a passionate citizen who contributes to peace. Captain America, it seems that you and Mr. Stark have quite different personalities. What do you think of Mr. Stark?" Rogers saw that Tony was just saying polite words, and he couldn't hurt Tony. So he hesitated for 2 seconds and said, "Mr. Stark is an excellent scientist. His iron suit can contribute to world peace." The two were forced to support each other's backs and showed stiff smiles to the camera. The next day, both of them were embarrassed by the news headlines of the day. Iron Man and Captain America, the great souls of two eras, appreciate each other. Iron Man claims that he will maintain world peace together with Captain America. The two wings of peace in the new era, Iron Man and Captain America. Tony was watching TV at home, and he was very depressed when he saw that he and Captain America seemed to be close on the screen. Actually, they were squeezed together. Rogers was introduced by Zelda and installed a popular social software. He planned to use the social software, which was easy to use and operated. So Captain America easily found his and Tony's fan art, posing in various shameful positions. Yeah, I found a way to save more comments for authors. Thank you Minecrafter for 100 starting coins. Thank you Glass Bottle for 200 starting coins. Thank you Evil Moon Comet for 100 starting coins. Thank you RHPK for 9 recommendation votes. Thank you Juyan for 1 recommendation vote. Thank you Lau09 for 5 recommendation votes. Thank you I'm a Balloon for 8 recommendation votes. Thank you, a Korean book friend, for 3 recommendation votes. Thank you Kisei for 7 recommendation votes. Thank you Nothing for 4 recommendation votes. Thank you Nthkai's Soul for 4 recommendation votes. Thank you Dragon for 5 recommendation votes. Thank you Black Metal for 1 recommendation vote. Thanks to the old man who is talking nonsense for 3 recommendation votes. Thanks to A Song of Frost and Fire for 1 recommendation vote. Thanks to Good Books for 1 recommendation vote. Thanks to Blue Dream Feather for 3 recommendation votes. Thanks to XIU Cud for 5 recommendation votes. Thanks to you for 2 recommendation votes. Thanks to ClownXX for 1 recommendation vote. Chapter 52 Hahaha Iron Man. Tony was very puzzled. Why do the media think that the captain and I have a good relationship? Zelda, while tinkering with the old reactor that Tony had replaced with tools, answered casually, "Because you two look good together. What's it called? You have a strong sense of CP." Tony's face turned green, as if he had drunk too much chlorophyll. While doing things, Zelda remembered what she had seen and said, "A bohemian playboy and a righteous war hero. This combination is very popular. You little girl, what kind of mess are you watching?" Tony looked at Captain America on the screen with an unhappy face, and then saw Link practicing sword in a clearing that Tony had specially cleared. Each move was very slow, but the sword blade trembled slightly when it was swung, making a slight chirping sound, as if the sword came alive under Link's control. Every time I watched Link practice sword play, it was like he was in the water. On the surface, there was not much movement, but with each swing, the entire sea was shaking, creating huge waves on the surface of the sea. Tony could feel that when Link swung down from the air pressure in the entire room dropped together. Over and over again, the air in the room seemed to be breathing with Link. But the funny thing was that there was a Yahaha standing next to Link. Zelda thought it was fun, so she made a small blue hero suit for Peppa, and then a small master sword. At this moment, Yahaha was seriously imitating Link's swordplay, and he was pretending to say hoo ha in his mouth. Feeling that he was not doing it right, he scratched his head and looked at Link quickly, then continued to imitate, and then accidentally slipped and hit his face on the ground and burst into tears again. Link hurriedly picked up Peppa. "Are you okay?" Zelda also put down what she was doing and rushed over, touching Peppa's head. "Are you okay?" Peppa held his head with his hands in grievance. "It hurts." Link smiled and blew a breath on Peppa's forehead. He was not worried that Peppa would get hurt. Yahaha's head was always very hard. When Link just woke up, he tried it with a big stone. Peppa's nose twitched and said, "I always fall. I want to fight with a brave man." Zelda smiled. "Really? Then you might like what I'm going to make next." Link was curious. Zelda had been tinkering with Tony's old reactor these 2 days. "I don't know what she is doing." Zelda held Peppa and came to the work table, smiling. "Stand still." Peppa stood still obediently. Link sat on the sofa and watched Zelda's actions curiously. Zelda was assembling some things directly, which were all modified from the waste shell of the Iron Man suit. Tony nodded Peppa's head with his index finger and said, "Little guy, your mother Zelda made a small toy for you." Zelda looked up, confused. "Mom?" Tony spread his palm to Link. "This is Dad, and Peppa is your child." I always feel that you are using Peppa to play house games and practice how to raise children in the future." Zelda and Link blushed. It also reminded Link of the scene when he first entered the Chloro Forest, a large dreamlike forest, a towering ancient tree and countless ahaha. At that time, Link was thinking that, since the kingdom of Hyrule had been destroyed, he would save the princess in the future and settle here with her. Tony would not miss any opportunity to tease Link and Zelda. This was his new joy in life. As a veteran in the field of love, Tony couldn't stand the confused relationship between two young men and women. "Be neat and tidy, Link." "Zelda, you too. What are the two of them doing with such shyness?" Zelda glared at Tony. "You are such a mean person." After assembling it in no time, a small Iron Man suit appeared. Tony was stunned, and after comparing the sizes, he found that it was just right for Yahaha. "You made an Iron Man suit for Peppa?" Zelda smiled. "Yes." Then to Peppa, with two shining eyes cast from the two holes of the mask, yelled "Oh," and ran to the front of the small Iron Man suit, moved to the left, looked eagerly, exclaimed, moved to the right, looked eagerly, exclaimed, "Princess. So cool." Zelda was very happy. "Tried on." Peppa cheered and clicked a button according to Zelda's instructions. The suit split apart, and Peppa went in, shouting with satisfaction, "It fits so well." Tony rubbed his eyes and said to Zelda, "I don't think Peppa can fly with this size and stability." "This? No way. Really fly?" Peppa activated the floating ability without any instruction, and the thrusters under his feet started floating in the air. Peppa's tender scream came from the mask. "So handsome. So great." Peppa rushed over, then flew over, and knocked over a facility. Tony was stunned. "You used the leftover scraps of the suit and spent 2 days to make a small suit." Zelda nodded happily. She likes this world. Even if it is difficult to feel the power in her heart, she can help Link in other ways. This Yahaha suit is just an experiment. In the future, more powerful weapons can be made to help Link. In this way, Link will not have to fight alone. Tony said, "Since you have this idea, I will make you a new reactor in the future. This kind of reactor with palladium as the driving force is very harmful to the body. Peppa is so young, don't let it be poisoned to death." Zelda said, "No. Peppa's body is very special and full of life element. Krallo is a magical race with a long lifespan. Peppa looks childish, but he may be 100 or 200 years old." The master sword that Link damaged and could no longer be used was repaired by the Krallo chief. Tony, That's right, I saw that this little guy's body is full of chlorophyll. Pepper was having fun, flying around everywhere, and came to Damie and shouted, "Ha! Monster! I'm going to hit you." Damie's mind turned, because of simple thinking logic. When he saw Pepper, he thought of Iron Man, and when he saw Iron Man, he thought of swish. Damie sprayed dry ice at Pepper. Pepper shouted, "Ah! It's so foggy, am I back to the chloro forest?" Then he rushed over along the direction of the fog, and shouted tenderly, "Everyone, I'm back." As a result, the thruster power was accidentally turned to the maximum, and with a bang, it crashed into the wall, and stuck in the wall. To celebrate the strong recommendation of the work in the category, there will be more updates today. Thank you for the support of Hellx Girl with 100 starting coins. Thank you for the support of Glass Aquarius with 500 starting coins. Thank you for the handsome attitude, Crazy for Cats, Knee, GGR, Looking for Clouds and Remembering Years, Midnight Blood Thieves, Starry Night Long, Devil Pterosaur, Book Friend 140,318,190,214,671, and Z, Writing, Painting Rivers and Mountains, Rain Floating Clouds. Book Friend 2018124105333412, Evening Breeze Canyon, Pride in the Bones, Leaving Land Stepping on the Sky, Old Friends Are Gone, Hunting the Opposite, Entering the Array Riddle, Book Friend 150,616,192,329,463, Dragon, Rubik, Fox Purple Tongue, Liangashan, Cool Moon, Nothingness, Book Friend 151,207,082,521,291. Cold Ice Heart, Pink Hair, Rusky 560, Drunken Talker, Book Friend 160,922,104,621,506, Incredible Will, Bookworms, Cat Philosophy, Black Metal, Devouring King, Mysterious Mirror Department, Idle Excavator, Whose Boy Are You? Book Friends 201805101752233137, Sabby King 01, Director of the Strategic Research Institute, Spitfire, Retreat, Eufumeng, A Journey of Autumn knowing that one leaf has known for a long time, The Passing of Understanding, Shanna, Carousel, Crazy and Proud, Turning Around and Crying, Book Friends 2018928193016624, Food, 2 Japanese, Hardship of Survival, Disaster Dust, Kazvafsg, Like the Tail Life, Withered Butterfly, Raging Snail Saber. Wawaji Ankia, Blue Sky Feather Recommendation Vote Support. Chapter 53 Video Game Princess. Pepper started crying again, and rammed his head into the wall, and couldn't get out. Link rushed forward, and pulled Pepper's head out of the wall like a carrot. Tony was beside him, and could even hear the pop sound, when Pepper was taken out. And Pepper is a big carrot. Tony said, "Zelda, you did a really good job, but I think you can add some attack equipment. Although I know it's a bit difficult. After all, this battle suit is too small, and can't hold too many things, otherwise Pepper will go from a carrot to a potato." Zelda said, "I installed weapons." Pepper shook his head in Link's palm, shook his head to wake up, and shouted, "My brave man. It was so dark just now. I couldn't see anything." In order to express his exaggerated emotions, Pepper raised his hands high, and somehow, he launched a laser attack with his 2 small palms. 2 beams of light shot out, and pierced through the ceiling. The position where they shot out was just very close to the temperature alarm detector. Suddenly, a nozzle appeared from the ceiling, and sprayed fine water mist into the room. Tony was soaked, and a little depressed. "Okay, Zelda. It seems that you directly copied the weapons on the palm of my battlesuit. Okay, Jarvis, quickly withdraw these nozzles. You are an artificial intelligence after all. You should have some self-judgment ability." Jarvis's calm voice came, "Okay, sir." The water mist disappeared immediately, and most of Tony's equipment in the New York studio was damaged by the water mist. Zelda apologized to Tony for Pepper. Tony shook his hand. He didn't care about these. Tony said, "Zelda, I also saw some clues. Since you can make a battle suit for Peppa, you can also make one for yourself. You can try to fight with Link in the future. Zelda shook her head. I can't. Link won't let me fight. He said he will protect me. And Link also came over with Peppa in his arms. Tony raised his eyebrows and looked at Link and said, Link, if a feminist hears you say this, you will be in big trouble. Link did not comment. He came from an ancient kingdom and should be considered a royal power advocate. If the princess he was protecting took up a long sword and went into battle, what would he, a guard knight, do? At this time, Peppa jumped off Link's arms and ran around to play while he himself was like a little robot. Tony suddenly had an idea and said to Link, by the way, Link, Zelda will at least run around the world with you. If you encounter danger, some vicious guys will specifically target Zelda, just like what Rogers and Ross did. No matter how strong your guarding ability is, Zelda will still be injured. I have an idea that can let Zelda protect herself, and you can fight with peace of mind. Link was actually very stubborn about protecting Zelda, and believed that he could protect the princess. Moreover, if Zelda turned into Iron Man, flying around and fighting alongside Link, Link would feel a bit weird. Or, Zelda wearing armor and using laser cannons to fight Hulk and Thor. This fact itself made Link feel uncomfortable. Tony wanted to point at Peppa, but he couldn't find the little thing no matter what. He didn't know where he had gone. He had to point at Damie, who was playing with a fire extinguisher, and said, look, you can think of this as a game. Zelda is the player, and the suit is the person in the game. If the person in the game dies, the player can still be safe. I mean, let Zelda use the handle to control a suit. She doesn't have to go to the battlefield, but remotely control the suit. She can cooperate with your battle when she advances, and she can protect herself when she retreats, so that she can suffer less damage. Zelda opened her mouth slightly. Ah. This is quite interesting. Link. This should be within your tolerance, right? Zelda opened her big eyes, with a glimmer in her eyes, and looked at Link charmingly. Even though she is a princess, Link's feelings must be respected in some situations, including some of Link's personal insistence. Link thought about it and nodded. This is not a big deal. So, in the future Avengers, there will be a video game player and exotic princess. At this time, Peppa came in and was about to report something. As soon as she closed the door, she felt that she kicked something. However, Tony had the habit of putting things in a mess, so she didn't pay much attention to it. She looked down and almost fainted with fright. She screamed, Tony. Tony and the other two hurried over and saw Peppa kneeling on the ground in fear, hugging Peppa, who was wearing a small Iron Man armor, and crying, Tony, what did you do? How did you become so small? Is your life in danger? The three were speechless. Peppa thought Peppa was Tony, who had become smaller. Tony supported his hands on the table beside him, looked at Peppa in confusion, and said aloud, I think that the person stuffed in the iron shell in this world may not be Tony Stark. Peppa looked back in surprise. Tony, I thought you were doing some weird experiment and made yourself small. Then who is this? Peppa opened his visor, spread his limbs, and shouted, Ahaha. Peppa. Little Peppa stood up awkwardly, tapped Peppa's forehead with her finger and complained, Little guy, you made a fool of me. Huh. Peppa tilted his head. His silly and cute look instantly melted little Peppa's heart. Peppa came over holding Peppa and said, Tony, I received a subpoena concerning you from the military commission. Tony snapped his fingers. Well, those arrogant senior officials have started doing stupid things that embarrass them and me again. Link knew the plot, so he said, the military commission probably wants you to hand over Iron Man. Tony looked at Link approvingly. That's right, Link. Your sharpness has surpassed 99.9% of the people in the world. It's a shame for our country that a little kid who has just arrived here can see through the stupid ideas of the military commission at a glance. Link, I'm over 100 years old. Tony, well, it's a shame for our country that a little kid who has just arrived here, who is over 100 years old, can see through the stupid ideas of the military commission at a glance. Link. Peppa said, then what should I do? Huh, don't they want Iron Man? Tony snatched Peppa from Peppa's arms and held it high into the sky. Let's just give them this small Iron Man. Peppa, huh. Thanks to Alex girl, is the one. Turn the Tide Tea, Blue Dream Feather, White and Black Sage, Book Friend 201801151312396331, Proud of Bones, Writing, Painting Jiangshan, Liang Gashan, Melting Snowman, Devouring King. Holy Armor, Son of Demon Satan, Riddle of Entering the Battle, Book Friend 160,720,230,150,055, Clown XX, Doll, Kami 9, Xiaobe Elder, Kyanai Cat, Juyan, Book Friend 201806031910168869, Minecrafter, Wag, Hunting on the Contrary, A Leaf Knows the Autumn Journey, Worty 2008, Book Friend 15,120,708,252,191, Drunkard, A Song of Frost and Fire, Rua Rubik, Book Friend 201807062004333374. Black Shark Hole, I Won't Serve You Anymore, Whose Boy Are You, Haha. The recommendation votes of book friends such as Estrangement, Tyrant Sky, Zio Ran Ruameng, Urki, Poor Fat Paper, Sabi Cheyenne Wang 01, Wang Yang, Incredible Will, Wesley Wing, Sin Rushang, Carousel, Dark Stud Rack, Handsome Attitude, 1,139,931,564, Spitfire, Shanna, Leng Leng Bingxin. D Yingsha, Guchin and I Fight, Black Metal, Retreat, Hegemong, Yi Meng Li Jie, Chun Yu, Crazy 4 Cats, Cheyenne Wang Hubeo Temple, Zio Igi, Long Long, Evening Breeze Canyon, Hellx Girl, Demon King Pterosaur, Rusky 560, and you are supported by you. Thank you. Chapter 54, Strange Misunderstanding. The next morning, Tony and Link came to the military committee meeting room. Link held Pepper and sat down with Zelda and Pepper. He and Zelda wore hats and their hair was loose to cover their ears. Tony sat down arrogantly and immediately became the focus of the meeting room. Stern, an official of the military committee, made a judgment on Iron Man and asked Tony Stark to hand over Iron Man. Tony's series of dirty talk made the audience laugh continuously. I don't want to copy the plot at all. Then Stern invited military weapons expert Justin Hammer to come forward. Tony looked down on Justin, a funny character who always wanted to compete with him, but was always inferior to him, like a clown, so he taunted, I hope you can hire a real military expert. The whole audience was in chaos. Hammer came up and picked up the microphone and said in his slightly exaggerated tone, we should talk about this important matter that we always ignore. In this age without war, our lives are still not guaranteed. This is such a strange problem. Some strange monsters emerged from the ground, and we don't know where they came from. We don't know why Blood Moon appeared a few days ago, making the whole world like an exploding toy assembly line, generating many skeleton monsters in one night. This mediocre Earth is suddenly in a ridiculous magical world. Link raised his eyebrows, because the monsters that appeared one after another made Hammer's rhetoric change. Tony interrupted and said, I agree with you, that this Earth is mediocre. I believe that, if you are exiled to Mars, the Earth will become great again. Hammer's mouth twitched twice. Of course, he knew that he could not beat Tony in an argument. He had no choice but to ignore Tony and continued, we don't actually need to know the reasons for the birth of these monsters, we just need to eliminate them. We are in a great era. Even if there are inexplicable monsters threatening the world, we can still make up for this problem through technology. But I regret to see that those who master this light of technology have stubbornly regarded the technology that benefits all mankind as their own private property, which has become an uncontrollable dangerous element. And, should some people consider the safety of the lives of the general public and hand over the terrible and dangerous weapons they possess to the government for safekeeping? Tony stood up, straightened his clothes, and looked unbelievable. What did I hear just now? Even people with only elementary school education should know the principle of personal rights are sacred and inviolable. Iron Man is my private property, my clothes, my internal organs, and my blood. Someone in the world said that money is the most terrible weapon, so can Congress use this as an excuse to confiscate all my property? Stark, you want to cut off my flesh to feed everyone in the world. Stern coughed twice. The main problem now is that Mr. Stark's Iron Man is a weapon of great lethality. The military commission, for the sake of the safety of citizens across the country, must assess its harm and decide whether it should be kept by the government. Please invite Lieutenant Colonel Rhodey to make a special report on the harm of Iron Man. Tony turned around and waved his hand. Hi, friend. I really don't want to see you here. Rhodey was also embarrassed. He drank a sip of water a little nervously before he started the report and tried to explain Iron Man, but the military commission officials interrupted him again and again and asked Rhodey to read the summary about Iron Man directly. Rhodey was helpless. Iron Man has posed a potential threat to national security and interests, but I also concluded that the benefits of Iron Man far outweigh his disadvantages. Then he was interrupted by Stern again, and Tony seemed a little impatient. Rhodey had to ask for the release of relevant information and videos. Stern couldn't stop him this time, so he agreed to Rhodey's request. As a result, Tony quickly took over the control of the big TV and released all the military's confidential documents. There were videos of various countries researching robots similar to Iron Man, even including Hammer's company. In the video, a person controlled the action of the suit. Hammer commanded, "Okay, turn around." As a result, the upper body of the suit twisted, but the lower body did not move. The driver inside was twisted to death inside, causing an uproar in the audience. At this time, Tony stood up and shouted, "See? The whole world is researching related technologies, but my technology is 5 to 10 years ahead of them. As for Hammer, it is 20 years. You want my things, I refuse, but I help you. You should thank me. I'm the nuclear deterrent of our country, maintaining security and peace." The whole audience cheered. Stern laughed dryly and cursed Tony over and over again and muted himself through the broadcast. Pepper looked left and right and found that the people around him seemed very happy. What were they doing? Pepper propped up the leaf bamboo dragonfly and flew around. Zelda shouted, "Pepper." Then she and Link chased after Pepper. Pepper looked around and turned slowly in the air. He accidentally fell on Justin Hammer's face. Justin grabbed one of Pepper's legs and lifted him up. He looked strange. What the hell is this? Because of his ferocious expression, Pepper immediately regretted running out of Zelda's arms and started crying again. Alive. Justin was shocked and his hand trembled and fell to the ground. Recently, there have been many strange monsters, which made Justin feel scared. When he saw Pepper's green color, he stepped on Pepper. Hey. Link saw that Justin first threw Pepper to the ground and even stepped on Pepper. He was furious and rushed up quickly. His speed was so fast that his hat fell off. He stepped forward and knocked Justin down with one leg. Then, when Justin fell, he grabbed Justin's collar and lifted him up and threw him away like garbage. Then he picked up Pepper and comforted him. "It's okay, it's okay. This little guy's really so timid and loves to run around. If he wasn't so naughty, he wouldn't have run out of the Krallo forest and accidentally come to the Marvel world." Justin stared at Link. "Link, it's you." At this moment, Link's hair was disheveled and without a hat. Justin recognized it as Link at a glance. He shouted and attracted the attention of others. Everyone realized at this time that this blonde and weak boy holding a strange creature was actually Link, who was in the limelight recently. Link was about to leave with Pepper, and Tony hurriedly caught up and said with a smile, "You kid, you are stealing my limelight again." Picked up the ground and patted it, covering Link's head. The sound of taking pictures suddenly became intense. Although Tony had claimed before that he and Link were friends, this was the first time the two of them were in the same frame in public. Justin looked at Link in horror and recalled the Pepper that fell on his face just now, and Link and Tony looked very familiar and immediately connected the three together. Link's strength is so strong. Could it be the product of Tony's anti-human biological experiments? Just like Captain America, Tony can create Iron Man, and he can also create this kind of genetically mutated and enhanced human race. And that green guy must be the product of a failed biological experiment. Thank you for the 500 starting coins reward from Lily Aquarius. Thanks to Helex Girl, who is saying, "Turn the tide tea, Kanglin Mengayu, White and Black Sage." Book friend 201801151312396331, and Z. Book friend 201706142211383338. King Fengao Kinliazu, Guman Hangao, Stalia, Zhang Xiangaiu, Attack of Soap, Midnight Blood Thief, Yuki, King of the Sky, Kanglan Mengayu, Clown XX and other book friends for recommendation votes and support. Chapter 55 Birds. Link had no idea that Hammer had so many ideas. He just touched Peppa's head and said softly, "Don't run around like a fool anymore, okay?" Peppa nodded aggrievedly and then left with Tony and others. Link didn't know that Hammer had already had a big misunderstanding about him, thinking that he was a genetically mutated enhanced person created by Tony's biological experiment. Although Tony was very stubborn at the military committee, he also knew that he had to give an explanation to the military. He had already built a war machine for Oddie and sent it to the military. However, the control authority of the war machine was in Tony's hands, and it could not be used without his permission. The war machine was just a piece of expensive scrap metal. Tony explained to Link, "We can't give them whatever they want, because that would make us look weak and allow them to take advantage of us. We all know how powerful the Iron Man suit is. I won't allow anyone I don't approve of to use this power. Even if we give it to the military in the future, we will only give Roddy more control, and no one else can touch it." Peppa shook his head and shouted, "Ahaha." Tony snapped his fingers and said to Peppa, "Yes, you are also someone I approve of, little green man." Tony flipped through his notebook and said to Link and Zelda, "By the way, Monaco, France is holding an antique car race. They invited me. Do you want to go to visit the charming France together?" Link shook his head. Zelda was reading a book with black framed glasses. She raised her head and adjusted her glasses and said, "No." Link was not a person who liked to show up in public, and it was impossible for the two of them to follow Tony around all the time. He needed to use the free time in this plot to study with Zelda whether the life Durian could be planted in this world. And because of Tony's words, Zelda also had all kinds of fantasies, wanting to make an iron suit that can be remotely controlled. At this moment, she was looking up all kinds of information and had no intention of going to France to play. Tony said, "What a pity." "That's right. You two need some time alone." Peppa jumped up. "Ahaha." Tony asked, "Peppa, do you want to go out and play with me?" Peppa can understand a little bit of the local language these days. At least he can understand the wordplay, so he is interested. At this time, Link laughed and said, "Peppa, that ugly yellow-haired guy will also go that day." Peppa called Hammer the ugly yellow-haired guy. When he heard the fierce man who wanted to step on him, he shrank back into Link's arms and shook his little head in fear at Tony to express that he didn't dare to go. The next day, Tony flew to France with Peppa and Happy. Zelda also began her own bold experiments. First, as an attempt, she modified Peppa's small, round version of the Iron Man suit, strengthening its flying and attacking capabilities. Knowing that Peppa was timid, she also installed an emergency automatic operation mode to prevent Peppa from being at a loss in critical moments. Now Peppa has 1/5 of Iron Man's strength. After succeeding on Peppa, Zelda started her own video game. With the help of Jarvis, she successfully completed a prototype suit, which was similar to the Mark series, but with softer lines. But then something went wrong. Zelda asked Link to fight with her new suit, but in less than 3 seconds, she was easily defeated by Link. The new suit hit straight back and forth with a stiff punch, and it was very strong, and it made a sound of breaking through the air. But Link tilted his head, swung his body, and easily dodged it. He punched the new suit on the head and knocked it down. Then Zelda's new suit twisted on the ground and couldn't stand up no matter what. Jarvis made an analysis report. "Zelda, the stability of the new suit is very poor. There is no driver inside, the center of gravity is too high, and it is impossible to control the suit to stand firmly, and it is difficult to coordinate the limbs." Zelda frowned in distress. The balance of the suit is difficult to do. It took humans millions of years to learn to walk upright. The seemingly simple upright running and limb coordination are difficult problems to solve in terms of technology, even in the Marvel world. After Roday's lower limbs were paralyzed, Tony did his best to customize an external prosthesis for him, but he still had difficulty moving. Not to mention the current level of technology. Link pulled the new suit up, and the new suit struggled to stand on its own, but the center of gravity was unstable and fell again, lying on the ground again, twisting like a caterpillar. Seeing this, Link suddenly said, "It doesn't have to be a human form. Other animal shapes are also fine. You don't wear it anyway." Zelda put her index finger on her chin, thought for less than 2 seconds, and then her eyes lit up. She ran to hug Link and shouted, "Yes, I can make it into other shapes that are convenient for movement." So Zelda called Amy and asked Amy to dismantle the new suit in a few seconds. Then Zelda spent a long time on the blueprint. Link leaned over to take a look and saw a mechanical structure in the shape of a flying bird gradually becoming clear as Zelda drew it stroke by stroke. A tribute to the Legend of Zelda, Skyward Sword, and Peppa also rode on Amy's head, driving Amy to see what Link and Zelda were busy with, and pointed to the machine on the blueprint with his little hand and said, "Oh, it's the bird beast Valmedo." Link realized that the design prototype of Zelda was one of the 4 beasts in Hyrule, the wind beast Valmedo. With the efforts of Zelda and Jarvis, a small bird-like beast was built. The arc reactor was placed on the bird's round chest, the wings were supported by special flexible metal materials, the claws were thrusters, and the beak was where the laser was released. Link stretched out his arm, and the small bird-like beast landed lightly on Link's upper arm, just like the cuckoo bird in the game Link loved to play. It tilted its head, made a cuckoo sound, and rubbed Link's cheek affectionately with its head. This was Zelda controlling it. Of course, this cuckoo bird weighed at least 80 kilograms. Except for Link's huge strength, it was impossible for ordinary people to make such a heavy object stand on their arms so easily. Link nodded. This bird was much more pleasing to the eye than the clumsy new battlesuit just now. It was smaller in size and more flexible in movement. Success. Zelda cheered. She wore a pair of special glasses with wide lenses, which were driven by the movement of her eyes and the subtle changes in her eye muscles. It was not very convenient at the moment, but after many adjustments and information accumulation, the bird could be controlled as easily as an arm. Please collect. First day of strong promotion in the category. Please support. Thanks to Minecrafter for the 100 starting coins reward. Thanks to Lily Shooping for the 100 starting coins reward. Thanks to Bookfriend ZUIUK, Devouring King, Melting Snowman, Zarafat Sweet Tofu Pudding, Juyan, Gudchin and I Fight, Cheyenne Wang Hubeo Temple, Bookfriend 2017061422138338, Bookfriend 2017063009185677. What's the matter, UP Aloyan, Long Long Kayanaukat, Yuling Feng Lei, Minecrafter, Wag, White and Black Sage, Hellx Girl, Yimeng Lija, Xiaobe Elder, Turn the Tide Tea, Hunting on the Contrary. One Leaf Knows Autumn Journey, Rua Rubik, Werty 2008, Bookfriend 201801815131239631, Pride in the Bones, Canyon of the Evening Breeze, Loneliness Between Entanglements, Cool Moon, Whose Boy Are You, Hegemong, Bookfriend 140,726,011,253,888, The Clouds of Old Friends Are Gone, The Land of Extreme Ice, A Song of Frost and Fire, Dirty North, Black Metal, Incredible Will, and other recommendations. Thank you. Chapter 56, Bird and Horse. Link took the bird outside, and the bird flapped its wings and flew into the sky quickly. Due to its shuttle-shaped structure and reduced weight, its flying speed was surprisingly fast. Oh! Peppa shouted in surprise, jumping and jumping, thinking it was fun. He ran back to the room, equipped with his Yahaha battlesuit, started the thrusters, and flew into the sky, chasing the bird. When the bird rushed to a small dot, it turned around and swooped down. Zelda laughed and said, "Link, attack me." Link knew that Zelda wanted to show the bird's defensive ability, so he drew out his shining rapier, took 2 steps at a time, and rushed forward quickly, stabbing Zelda. If Tony saw it, he would be shocked that Link would actually draw his sword against Zelda. But the two of them knew each other well. Zelda knew that Link would never hurt her no matter what, and Link also trusted his swordsmanship and there was no possibility of accidentally hurting Zelda. One trusted, the other was confident, so the scene seemed to be more solemn. The bird's thrusters suddenly turned on, and it accelerated rapidly. It rushed to Zelda's front, and its body opened up, changing from a bird shape to a shield, composed of 3 triangles. Dang. The rapier hit the bird's shield, and the bird's shield suddenly shook violently, spreading waves outward from the center of the rapier's piercing, completely dispersing the power Link had poured into the sword. But even so, the bird's shield retreated a lot, and the reactor light dimmed. The rapier exploded, and Link was a little surprised. Zelda's head popped out from the side of the shield and smiled. Well, the shield can actually block a blow from the brave man. I can be a little proud. Link looked at the broken blade in his hand. This sword was of course a very ordinary weapon, without any special metal added. It was just a prop for Link, to practice swordsmanship in the air. But when he stabbed just now, he only used 20% of his strength, and the rapier was far from reaching the point of exhaustion. But the rapier broke with just one strike. The shield turned back into a flying bird, and landed at Zelda's feet. Zelda stepped forward, and hugged Link's neck, smiling. Because of your shield counter, I added a mechanism to the shield that can bounce back the attacker's force. This sword exploded prematurely, because the sword body had 2 colliding forces at the same time. How about it? This flying bird will be upgraded in the future. It should be able to help you, right? Link smiled and nodded, tiptoed. Link hated this, and kissed Zelda on the forehead. Oh. Peppa flew down, shyly covering his mask with his hands, but his little eyes were still peeking at the two of them. At this time, Jarvis said in a nonchalant voice, Link, there is a visitor outside. It's Natasha Romanova. Zelda jumped away shyly like a rabbit. Link was unhappy and a little confused. What is a Black Widow doing here? The two ran to open the door, and saw Natasha standing outside the door. A car stopped behind her. A man in black struggled to lead a black horse down from the back of the car. Natasha smiled and waved. Long time no see, Link, Zelda. I brought your beloved horse back. When the black horse saw its owner, it immediately neighed happily, rushed over, came to Link, and snorted. Link smiled and patted Epona's face, and stroked its mane. The black horse looked much stronger after not seeing it for a few days. Obviously, Shield did not treat Epona badly. Link thanked Natasha, and invited her into the house. Peppa volunteered to lead Epona's reins, and flew to the yard. Tony knew about Epona, and had prepared a stable for her. Epona had a violent temper, but somehow she was very gentle to Peppa, and was led away by Peppa obediently. Peppa whispered, "Be good little pony, be good." Obviously, there was no deterrent effect. Maybe Epona thought Peppa was a big carrot. Natasha looked at the room and asked, "Is Mr. Stark not here?" Zelda replied, "He went to Monaco to watch the car race." Natasha said, "According to my information, someone will harm Mr. Stark." Link nodded. It was Ivan, the villain in Iron Man 2, and Natasha's Russian fellow countryman. Link said, "It's okay. Tony has developed a new box MK5. It's very safe. In this time and space, because Tony was told about the new element in advance, the iteration of Iron Man progressed very quickly. This time, the MK5, the performance and combat power, are far stronger than the original Marvel time and space. That crazy scientist named Ivan could not hurt Tony. So Link didn't have to follow him." Natasha frowned and said, "But, according to my information, Mr. Stark did not take any battle suits out of the country." Link and Zelda looked at each other in horror. Zelda hurriedly called Tony, and Jarvis said, "Link, Mr. Tony didn't take the new suit out." Zelda also called, "Hello, Zelda." Tony's frivolous voice came from the microphone. "Are you having a good time alone with Link?" With Natasha present, Zelda was very shy, and ignored Tony's teasing, but asked, "Tony, why didn't you take the suit with you?" Tony asked Zelda instead, "Why should I take weapons with me when I go on vacation? And, do you think the military will agree to take such sensitive things abroad?" Zelda was speechless. Link rubbed his brows. Because he affected the plot, Tony was not so dependent on the Iron Man suit compared to the original time and space. Now Tony didn't even have a gun on him. If Ivan came to his door in advance and whipped Tony to death, the Avengers would become paupers in the future. Link took the phone reluctantly and said to Tony, "There's news from S.H.I.E.L.D. that someone is against you. Be careful in France, I'll be there soon." Then he smiled at Zelda, and Zelda said, "It seems we still have to go to Monaco for a trip." Tony was still wondering, who is against me? Link was not a talkative person, so he just said, "It's okay, I'll be there to protect you soon. Don't worry." Tony agreed and hung up the phone in frustration, feeling unhappy that his vacation was ruined. Zelda and Link thanked Natasha. Natasha smiled and said, "I'm glad I could help you. I'll go with you." At this time, Peppa's cry was heard from afar. My brave lord." Natasha suddenly became alert. "Is someone going to attack here?" Peppa flew over quickly and slammed into Link's chest, complaining very aggrievedly, "My brave lord. Epona actually bit my butt. It hurts." Link. Epona really treated Peppa as a big carrot. If you find this work interesting, you can add it to your favorites to follow the latest updates. Thanks to Lily Aquarius for the reward of 100 starting coins. Thanks to the book friends Mayo Gutao, Rumors in the Message, Riddles in the Battle, Writing, Painting Jiangshan, Crazy 4 Cats, Zua Neo and Lanayang, Mayrain Diamond, Book Friend 140,726,011,253,888, Yesterday is Still There, Gumo, Broken Wings, Wan Yashu, Grey Feather, Midnight Blood Thief, Ricky 560, Boss's Friend, Handsome Attitude, Smile is Worse Than No Smile, Monot in the Dream and No Wind, You, Got, Beacon Fire Play Wolf Smoke, Summer Trend, Lee 8279, The World, I'm the Only One, You Go Style, Shulayan Sao, Book Friend. 150,207,145,449,701 for their recommendation votes and support. Thank you. Chapter 57 Heading to Monaco. Peppa complained bitterly to Link about the cruel behavior that Epona had done to him. With tears and snot, he begged Link to seek justice for him. He took Link's hand and fluttered to the stable. Peppa flew over aggressively. Epona saw that the flying carrot had returned. She jumped forward happily and continued to chew it. Peppa was so scared that she shrank into Link's hat and trembled while hugging Link's neck. Link could only suppress his laughter and scolded Epona, telling her that she couldn't eat it. Epona actually looked a little regretful and she waved her tail in disappointment, returned to the stable, and sulked. Natasha looked at Epona, who was very humane, and then looked at Peppa, who was shaking his head and looked silly, and the bird that was pecking at the floor in the living room for some unknown purpose. Natasha said, "You have so many pets." "Unfortunately, I'm an agent, and I'm on missions all over the world, so I can't keep any." At this time, Link asked tentatively, "Did anything happen in New Mexico?" Natasha said, "No." Then she looked at Link with a fixed gaze. "Since you said that, something must have happened." Link nodded without comment. "If you see a hammer falling from the sky, remember to tell me." Natasha, huh. The next day, at night, Link, Zelda, Natasha, and Peppa set out. Jarvis took care of the house, and Amy was responsible for feeding Epona. Without the help of S.H.I.E.L.D., it would be very difficult for Link to take out Zelda's bird and Tony's MK5. At this moment, Zelda and Peppa were looking at the clouds outside, very happy. Link was playing the game console, and from time to time he heard the sound of pika pika. Natasha was observing Link all the time. She had always been very concerned about this very pure boy. At this moment, Link had a loose ponytail hairstyle as usual, and a pair of long ears set off his delicate face. Not only was he not weird, but he had a strange exotic style. His whole face looked fair and tender, just like a girl. However, his eyebrows were thick, and the corners of his eyes were facing upwards, showing that his willpower was stronger than that of ordinary people, and he would never be afraid at any time. He was wearing a light blue shirt with strange patterns on it, and a black light jacket with a wide hood. According to Natasha, this light blue shirt and hooded jacket were both sewn by Zelda herself. In this era, where else did girls sew clothes for boys? Even when giving a Valentine's Day chocolate, he melted the ready-made chocolate and then shaped it as a new chocolate made by himself. Natasha didn't need to look at the picture to know that Link was playing Pokemon. For some reason, Link had a special liking for this game and Pikachu in the game. Natasha asked, "Do you like Pikachu very much?" Link looked up and answered seriously, "Yes, because Pikachu is an outstanding warrior." Natasha: "Link, I fought with Pikachu. He is very strong." Natasha: "Strange boy. Can you tell us a little about the hammer that is about to land in New Mexico?" Natasha decided to change the subject and get some more information before her IQ was about to be lowered by Link's words. "Well, it's a divine weapon." Link thought about it and felt that it didn't matter to tell it, so he revealed a little information and said, "It comes from a mysterious planet. Since the arrival of this hammer, the Earth will undergo great changes." He didn't say much. When Thor comes and pulls a mythical world into reality, SHIELD will completely believe Link's story about Ganon. In fact, none of this is important. Link always has a premonition that, even though there are Iron Man, Captain America, the Hulk, and Thor in this Marvel world, he will still be the only one fighting alone when facing Ganon in the final battle. This is an unpredictable fate, and Link knows that he cannot escape. The important thing is, Link has set his sights on Thor's hammer, Mjolnir. Now Link feels like a pauper, always feeling that life is lacking this and that. Tony can create Iron Man, but he can't make a weapon and shield that Link can use for a long time. So Link put his mind on the artifacts in Marvel. He wants Captain America's vibranium shield. You will throw it away sooner or later anyway. He wants Thor's Mjolnir. Your sister will crush it sooner or later anyway. Although the vibranium shield in the left hand and Thor's hammer in the right hand look very mismatched, even a little funny, but it's sturdy. Link likes this kind of sturdy and durable things the most in his life. Far away in New York, Captain America, who was running like crazy on the night street, suddenly shuddered, slowed down, wiped his sweat, and wondered, "Did I catch a cold?" Since Rogers had taken the super soldier serum, he had never caught a cold, so he suspected that this inexplicable shiver was the sequel of being frozen for 70 years. "Maybe the bone marrow hasn't thawed yet," Rogers muttered, and ran again. Because of his fast speed, he was like a ghost, scaring several passers-by. So the supernatural story of ghosts like drafts began to spread in the neighborhood. So later Rogers changed his running exercise time to the morning, and as for the free time at night, it became punching sandbags. Thor, the god of thunder, who was far away in Asgard, returned from a triumphant battle and had a party with his comrades. Just when he was happy, he suddenly shuddered. Thor put down his glass and stared at his brother Loki with suspicion. "What are you doing again?" Loki was holding a chicken leg in his mouth, with a blank face. The next day, Tony and Pepper were a little nervous at the banquet, because they were both a little worried about Zelda's call yesterday. So everyone at the banquet looked like a thug. Tony met with a group of business tycoons, said hello, took a group photo, and then met Pepper. At this time, Tony suddenly took a breath of cold air, and his eyes showed vigilance. Seeing Tony's face change, Pepper became nervous and asked hurriedly, "Have you noticed the suspected murderer?" Tony pointed with his wine glass at a Latin-style beauty with an exaggerated S-shaped figure in the crowd. Pepper looked at the woman's voluptuous aura, nodded and said, "I also think that woman is a little weird." Tony nodded, drank the remaining wine in the glass, and said nervously, "I feel that woman will come to me at any time." Then his tone became frivolous and he laughed. "Find 2 big durians and smash my head and bleed." Pepper, welcome to collect. Please support me. Thanks to the book friend Lily Water Bottle for awarding 100 starting coins. Thanks to book friends Destinaya, Rensheng Rusi, Y997,928,773, Zui Hushang, Zhang Xiangayu, and Anzaji for their recommendation votes and support. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 58 Speedmaster. Tony felt a little uneasy at the banquet. At this time, he was bumped into by Hammer, who ran over to harass him. At this moment, what was supposed to come was bound to come. A man in yellow overalls and a face full of flesh tried to enter the banquet hall. The receptionist saw that this man was not friendly, holding a toothpick in his mouth and looking fierce, so he stopped him. Ivan said a swear word in Russian, tore open his shirt, revealing the simple battle suit he made, and 2 long whips that were emitting electric light and screaming. The receptionist opened his mouth in shock, but before he could say anything, Ivan roared and swept away with a whip, leaving a string of electric light. The 2 receptionists were instantly broken into 2 pieces, and a strange smell quickly spread in the air. The riot was like a bomb. Tony heard screams from a distance, and the crowd ran around. As far as he could see, he saw a rude man with a naked upper body covered with simple armor, holding an electric whip, walking towards him calmly. The scene was in chaos. Tony's eyes fixed, and he knew that the guy was targeting him. He muttered in a low voice, "I hope you can come soon, Link." Tony Stark. Ivan laughed and roared, and with a whip, the sofa Tony was sitting on was broken into 2 pieces. Pepper screamed, and Tony yelled, "Pepper, his target is me. Separate your actions." Then he turned around and ran. Oh. Then his scalp tingled, and he saw the electric whip coming from the corner of his eye. Tony suddenly stopped his steps. The electric whip almost brushed his chest and fell down. It hit the tip of his shoe and cut a crack in front of him, almost splitting Tony in 2. Tony's eyes were stimulated by the electric light and tears flowed. He felt that his eyebrows were a little burned zillily. The sound of electricity. Tony didn't look at it and rushed forward regardless of everything. A bright square appeared in his vision. Tony knew it was a window. He jumped up, gritted his teeth, and broke the glass. His face was cut several times and fell to the ground with the glass shards. Tony gasped in pain, propped up his body with his bloody hands, and ran forward desperately, because if he was a step slower, he would die. Oh God, what is that? They are coming. Run. There was a chaos at the scene. Tony's vision was blurred, and he ran around like a headless fly. He only knew that there were panicked people around him. He could not hear anything except screams. He took a step forward, but his foot suddenly missed, and he fell down the stairs and rolled onto the sports car ace. Tony's shoulders, back, knees, and head were all in pain. He rubbed his eyes with a grimace, and his vision finally became clearer. He found that he had accidentally run into the racetrack, and then heard a bad buzzing sound. Tony turned his head and saw several cars, which were about to hit him. Although the race was in chaos, screams and exclamations were everywhere. The game was forced to stop. But the driver still needed time to slow down and stop. At this time, they just reached the first lap, and Tony ran into their must-pass road. "I'm not going to be hit and killed by the team I sponsored." Tony was sweating profusely, and he couldn't feel the pain in his body. He rolled over and rolled to the side of the track. The driver also saw someone on the track and knew that if he rushed like this, he would definitely hit Tony to death. He immediately changed the direction of the car and moved quickly to the left. He dodged Tony narrowly and was relieved when he saw another man rushing into the field. This time, he was really unable to dodge, otherwise he would have a car accident and form a terrible chain reaction with the car behind him. He could only shout in fear, "Get out of the way." But the person the driver hit this time was obviously not worthy of his sympathy. Ivan sneered, swung the electric whip, and a flash of lightning flashed, smoothly cutting off the front of the car. The car spun out and crashed on the side of the field. It was unknown whether he was dead or alive. As for the other drivers, they were not so lucky. They saw a mysterious man in front of them whipping the head of the car off with a whip. There was a chaos and they crashed into a ball. Bang, bang, bang. The explosion was a piece of land, and the flames shot up to the sky. The people who had not escaped on the track suddenly became silent and were frightened by this disaster. Tony limped and stood up by the edge of the track, looking at the solid iron net on the edge of the track. This was to prevent the car from having a car accident and the parts flew out and hit the spectators, and naturally it could easily block Tony. Ivan smiled and said, "Stark, you are a loser." Tony looked at the simple reactor on Ivan's chest and snorted contemptuously. "What about you? An imitator, but the thing on your chest is well made. Unfortunately, it's not as good as mine." Ivan grinned. "Do you feel very painful?" Regarding palladium poisoning, you should know better than me the taste of pain, which will make people live worse than death. Ivan grinned and saw Tony's face change drastically, and he felt very happy. He was about to whip Tony to death. Suddenly, he realized that Tony's shocked eyes were not looking at him, but at something in the sky. But, hearing the sound of a motorcycle engine, Ivan turned his head subconsciously. He saw the front tire of a motorcycle rapidly enlarged in his field of vision. It hit his chest, and with a bang, the man and the motorcycle crashed into the wall, and a piece of the wall collapsed behind it. Tony sighed with relief, sat on the ground, and said, "Link, you are finally here." Link fell lightly from the air, and the hood on his head slipped off, revealing his blonde hair and long ears, which caused the audience to exclaim that they were not afraid of danger, and stayed in the field to watch. Zelda and Natasha ran to the seats of the stadium at this time, panting with exhaustion. Seeing that Link had already driven to the sidelines, the two women couldn't help but smile bitterly at each other. It turned out that Link and others came here by car, but there was a traffic jam on the road. Link was afraid that Tony would be roasted by the time he arrived, so he got off the car, grabbed a motorcycle from a passerby, and shouted, "Princess, help me pay the money." Then he quickly flew away and disappeared at the end of the street. He drove at the maximum speed all the way, and there were exclamations on the road. Link dodged left and right. He was a superb driver. He didn't hit anyone at such a fast speed. In a blink of an eye, he arrived at the edge of the stadium and continued to accelerate. The engine roared, raised the front of the car, rushed into a car, and then flew to a tourist bus. After 2 pivots, Link had already soared into the sky and flew to the building at the edge of the stadium. He drove around and soon found Tony and Ivan. The engine roared immediately, and Link drove directly from the building and went down. He threw 2 bombs backwards and detonated them at the same time. The spectators watching the stadium saw the sky darken, looked up in confusion, and saw a motorcycle passing high above their heads. They were so scared that they sat on the ground. Link flew into the air, aimed his motorcycle at Ivan, and swung it, knocking Ivan over against the wall. His coat also flew up, and he landed gracefully. Such a thrilling move frightened Tony's facial muscles twitched. Please collect. Please recommend. Thanks to book friend Lily Shooping for the 100 starting coins reward support. Thanks to book friend Minecrafter for the 100 starting coins reward support. Thanks to the book friends Bastinia, Life is Like Thinking, Y 997,928,773, Crime Ruined, Zhang Xiangayu, Anzi, Bright Eyes Like the Sea, Infatuated, Red Flag Rolling in the West Wind, Biggin, Swallowing the King, Spitfire, Little White Elder, Middle School Otaku, Lonely Star and I Compete, Light Dawn, May Rain Diamond Jade. Book friend 140,318,190,214,671. Drunken Guest, Glass Bottle, Dow Glass, Salted Fish, Lonely Wolf, Enter the Array Riddle, Soy Sauce Existence, I'm Always Afraid of No One, I Love Novels, Ching Heolin, SSGSNLZ, Destroy Technology, Urki, Book friend. 150,903,213,606,877. Pink hair, Pit Father It's so difficult to name. Tianosony, the nine-tailed fox has not yet become a spirit. Pikachu, book friend. 20180226210142785. Cheyenne Kang Jade, Rua Rubik, The World, I'm the Only One. Kangaroo of the Morning Light, Clown XX, Hell X Girl, book friend. 20170614221138338. Life is Like Thinking, Wag, Druid's Unicorn Arm, Fall in Love with V Norms, Whose Boy Are You, Cool Moonlight, Pelly, A Big Head, Pride in the Bones, Pangxianasang 23333, White-Haired Gun Idiot, Worty 2008, Minecrafter, Broken Wings for You, True Supervest's recommendation votes support. Chapter 59, Brave. Haha. Link was going to help Tony back to a safe area, but Tony waved his hand. Forget it. You are too short to hold me up. Link. At this time, Ivan pushed the motorcycle away, spit out a mouthful of blood and stood up. Link said, "Tony, you retreat first. Leave this to me." Tony hurriedly retreated and shouted, "Where is my battle suit?" Ahaha. A chubby little iron man flew over with a golden and red iron box. Tony shouted, "Yes. Pepper, great job. Throw it at me." Pepper suddenly threw the iron box down from a high altitude. Tony's smiling face froze. Did Pepper want to smash him to death? He rolled over in a hurry to dodge, and his knees hurt so much. The MK5 fell to the ground and broke one corner of the box. Tony said angrily, "Pepper, you just want to smash me, right?" Huh. Pepper shook his head innocently. Obviously, the brave man could catch it. Tony shouted, "Huh, I know you're quibbling." Tony took the MK5 and tried to install it on his body. He found out helplessly that the MK5 was stuck. It must have been the deformation of the internal mechanical structure of the MK5 caused by the collision when Pepper threw it down. Tony had no choice but to pull the box over, sit on it, and stare at Pepper. Link, on the other hand, looked Ivan up and down, thinking to himself, another reactor. I wonder if Zelda would like it? Ivan whipped him with a whip, and there was a crackling sound of electricity. Link dodged by tilting his body, and was hit by another whip from Ivan. Ivan whispered, "Good body reaction. I know you, Link." The whip was swung with electric light everywhere, and it whipped Link. In such a dense attack, Link dodged left and right, like skipping rope, and actually shuttled back and forth in such a dense attack without being hurt. Link was not in a hurry to attack. Link had a guess about Ivan. Since beating the Hulk can awaken the heroic soul of Darkle, then can beating this guy with electric light awaken the former queen of Gerudo? So he kept dodging and tried to use Ivan's electric whip to awaken the heroic soul. Link was making plans here, but it scared the audience. The photographer was filming at Link's location. Everyone in the banquet hall saw it clearly. Tony rushed into the track just now, scaring Pepper and turning pale. After Tony narrowly avoided the car, Hammer waved his fist inadvertently, cursing in his heart, "Why didn't you hit this bastard to death?" And just now, Link flew in the air on a motorcycle, which was also captured clearly by the photographer. The people in front of the TV exclaimed at the same time. Link's actions were too wonderful and too dangerous. He saved Tony in a hair's breadth, which also made the people in front of the TV cheer in unison, except Hammer. That kid is Link. How did he do it? As a result, Hammer snorted in his heart, "This kid, I'm afraid Tony injected him with a serum similar to that of a super soldier, which made him so strong." He felt very unbalanced. He wanted to compete with Tony in everything. "If you dare to conduct biological experiments, I dare too." Hammer had a bad idea in his mind. Then it was time for Ivan to attack. He waved the electric whip, and the sizzling sound of the electric current made everyone's scalp tingle. Even if they were just watching the live broadcast on TV, they could feel the danger of his electric whip. Every time he waved, there was a nervous gasp, fearing that Link would be hit by Ivan. Link's reputation is particularly good now. Because of his powerful strength, it is suspected that he was injected with super soldier serum, so the media called Link the new generation of superheroes since Captain America. But the atmosphere of people's worry was immediately replaced by exclamations. Because Link seemed to be teasing Ivan, he only dodged and did not attack. Ivan's desperate series of whips made him tired and gasped for breath, but he could not hurt even a corner of Link's clothes. Compared to the thrills and excitement of the bystanders, Link felt a little discouraged. This time, I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel the power of awakening the heroic soul. Link thought, Ivan is indeed too weak, and he doesn't have enough electricity. Maybe he can only awaken the heroic soul of the Gerudo Queen. After fighting with Thor, he showed a disappointed look on his face, which undoubtedly stimulated Ivan. Ivan panted, his face grim. "Are you kidding me?" He stretched out the electric whip, swept to a scrapped racing car beside him, and threw it over and hit Link. Link swung his body and easily dodged it, and then heard a cry behind him. Ugh. Tony looked innocent, watching a scrap car hit him, trying desperately to run away, but his knee hurt and he fell to the ground. Link was helpless. "I told you to run away." Ivan grinned. "If you want to help him, you have to get through me first." The whip swiped at Link again. Link shouted without hesitation, "Princess, here I come." Just when Tony was about to be crushed to death, Zelda ran down the spectator stand, put on her glasses, and the bird immediately spread its wings and flew towards Tony. At the critical moment, the bird turned its body sideways, rushed in front of Tony like a steel knife, and cut the scrap car in front of it into two halves. Zelda didn't have time to breathe a sigh of relief. She saw that Tony probably didn't react to the bird having saved him, and rolled over and rolled away. As a result, he rolled to the place where one half of the scrap car fell. Zelda was very depressed. "Why are you rolling around?" Tony thought he had avoided a part, but when he looked up, he still saw the scrap car coming towards him, although only half was left. But half of it could still kill him. Tony helplessly put his hand on his head, hoping to at least keep his life. At this moment, a voice like the sound of nature came to my ears. "Ahaha. I saw Peppa start the thrusters and crash into the scrap car like a Superman." Oh. Peppa shouted, and with the help of the small battlesuit, he held up half of the scrap car and lifted it up. Zelda cheered. "Well done, Peppa." Peppa threw the half of the scrap car aside proudly and flew to Tony with his hands on his hips. "I'm awesome." "Oh." Tony reached out and hugged Peppa into his arms and touched Peppa's head with a surprised and happy tone of surviving a disaster. "Oh my god. Peppa, you are my hero. I swear, I will never be mean to you again." Ivan roared. "Damn it." Link took a quick look in his busy schedule, and when he learned that Peppa had bravely saved Tony, he laughed loudly. He turned and rushed forward, got close to Ivan, kicked Ivan sideways, and hit him hard against the wall. Then he flew forward and knocked Ivan unconscious with a knife. In a few seconds, he tore off Ivan's battlesuit and reactor. Welcome to Vote and Collect. Thank you all. Thanks to the book friend I'm nothing for the 500 starting coins reward. Thanks to the book friend Lily Shooping for the 100 starting coins reward. Thanks to the book friend Demon King Pterosaur, 233,599,618, Iron Choosting, Magical Little Wind, The Lost Cull Wolf 88, Hegemon, Cami 9, Book Friend. 2018112513101123. The Dark Old Demon, the eldest disciple of the Akumo family, Death, Book Friend. 160,922,104,621,506. Zifeng's Love, Professor does not believe in it, Wandering in the Starry Sky, Incredible Will, Book Friend. 201704233172202156. Cheyenne Wang Hubeo Temple, Book Friend 20,180,302,152,619. 208. Cat Abuser Scrying a Lonely Gate in the Great Chasm, Jade Vendor Selling Pendants, Canyon of the Evening Breeze, Sin and Destruction, Black Metal, Bazesh Ironson, Song of Frost and Fire, Book Friend 151,207,082,521,291. Kiritahij, Yesod, Writing. Painting the mountains and rivers, looking for the clouds, and remembering the years. Yimeng Lija, Cushion Bomb, Like Weisheng, Smiling Buddha, Teishi Teiqiu, Sound of Reading in Play, Bariu, Handsome Attitude, Turning the Tide Tea, Boring Teammates, Sweet Tofu Pudding, Eyes of Fallen Angel, I'm Handsome Cow, Flowers Bloom Without Soul, and Eagle's Child's Recommendation votes in support. Chapter 60 Efficient Interrogation and Efficient Jailbreak. The next second after Link defeated Ivan, the local police came out from nowhere and controlled Ivan. Link was surprised. Where did you run off to? He turned around, walked forward and pulled Tony up. Zelda and Natasha ran over, and the flying bird landed at Zelda's feet and folded its wings. Tony kissed Peppa hard. Ah. Peppa felt uncomfortable being rubbed by Tony's beard and stretched out his little hand to push Tony. Tony said, Peppa, you saved my life, Tony Stark. What reward do you want? Do you want a Latin beauty with breasts bigger than Tyrion? Huh. Peppa tilted his head, not understanding what Tony said. Natasha frowned and whispered to Zelda, has Stark been with Link for too long, and is he crazy? He always talks about Tyrion. Zelda tapped her temples with her fingers. It was difficult for her to explain Link's love for Tyrion. Tony let go of the struggling Pepper and then said to Zelda, "Thank you too. You made this bird-shaped mecha, right? It's a very pleasing design, very fast, and energy saving. Although I also want to hug you, I'm afraid of angering Link. So I decided to forget it. Hi. See you again. Slavic beauty." Tony greeted Natasha and then said, "Romanova, you must know who the man waving the whip with a Russian accent is." Natasha smiled and said, "He is your enemy. But compared to this, you should deal with the media first." When he saw the group of people carrying long guns and short guns rushing up, Link quickly put on his hood, pulled Zelda with one hand, snatched Pepper from Tony's hand with the other hand, and ran away. Natasha smiled and said goodbye, twisting her waist and leaving. "Hey. Why are you all running away?" Knee. Tony's leg was injured, and it was inconvenient for him to walk, so he was quickly surrounded by reporters. Tony pointed at his head helplessly and said, "Did you see? I'm bleeding from my head, limping and limping. Please let me go. I need treatment." Fortunately, Pepper and Happy arrived at the scene and pulled Tony out. Tony was very annoyed. "Happy, my bodyguard, I trust you so much, but you were not there when I was in danger." Happy said, "I'm protecting Panties, not Miss Boz. You have Link to protect me. I feel like I've been downgraded from a bodyguard to a driver." "Forget it." Tony said, "I'll let you be the company's security director when I go back." Tony received simple treatment. The beautiful French nurse winked at him, but he ignored her and stared at the TV with an angry look. The TV was reporting about Tony's incident. The host excitedly introduced the situation that happened not long ago in French, and the video shown was the source of Tony's annoyance. Link rushed into the stadium very handsomely and knocked Ivan over with a motorcycle. The whole process was played in slow motion, and I don't know what they were thinking, and it was also accompanied by passionate and bloody music. Link looked 5 times more handsome. Tony, on the other hand, was rolling around, running away in a panic, and bleeding. He looked miserable. Tony's mouth twitched. At this time, Link and others came in. Zelda held a bunch of flowers in her arms and placed them on the bedside table with a smile. Tony muttered, "You are too much. You left me there alone." Before Tony finished speaking, the beautiful French nurse who had been winking at Tony just now covered her mouth and exclaimed, "Link." Leaving Tony alone, she ran to Link and greeted him enthusiastically. "I finally see you in person. You are as handsome as in the video. Little handsome boy, do you have any?" Natasha saw that Zelda's smile was a little stiff, so she put her hands on Link's shoulders, looked at the beautiful nurse provocatively, and said in pure Parisian French, "Miss Nurse, what can I do for you?" When she looked up, she ran into the beautiful Black Widow and ran into her tender and cold eyes. The beautiful French nurse suddenly felt like a little country chicken, so she ran away in shame. Tony said unhappily, "Link, you stole my limelight again." Although he disdained the little nurse, the favor he received was ruthlessly transferred to Link, which also made him feel uncomfortable. "Ha, woman. How am I inferior to Link?" Pepper also flew over, shouting. Tony knew that Pepper was greeting him, so he grabbed Pepper and held him up high to play with him. He said, "You should tell me who the lunatic who wants to kill me is, right?" Natasha replied, "I used my relationship with SHIELD to request 5 minutes of interrogation time. Although the man didn't want to say anything, I still got a lot of information out of him." Tony, huh? He doesn't want to say anything, but you can still get information out of him? Natasha smiled softly. Her interrogation ability is probably unique on this planet. His name is Ivan Anko, a Russian. His father and your father Howard Stark were partners in creating the most original arc reactor design. According to Ivan, his father made the greatest contribution to the arc reactor, but your father took all the design for himself. One was destitute in Russia, and the other became a millionaire in the United States. This is the motive for killing you. Link's eyes twitched when he heard this. How did you get so much information out of him without him saying a word? Did you get the script of Iron Man 2 by interrogating Happy? Tony frowned. My dad also has this kind of thing. This matter is more sensitive, and it concerns his father's generation, so Tony doesn't want to talk about it. At this time, the phone rang. Tony answered it, and his face instantly turned bad. Zelda asked, "What happened?" Tony looked unhappy. Ivan Anko escaped from prison. Natasha smoothed her red hair and shook her head. Okay. Ivan must be planning a second murder against you, Mr. Stark. When Pepper heard this, she rubbed her forehead and groaned. I have to quickly increase security. Tony snorted. What are you afraid of? I can beat 5 of them with that simple armor with my new MK. Link also comforted Pepper. Yes, don't be afraid. Even if it is Tony's new MK, I can beat 5 of them. Tony is safe under my protection. Tony was dissatisfied. Hey. Pepper was relieved and begged. Then Link, Tony's safety is in your hands. At this time, Ivan was tied up and hooded, and was secretly escorted back to the United States. Hammer was on the plane at the moment, with his fingers crossed, and his chin supported. No. Even if I get the technology of that madman, I still can't beat Stark. I should. Welcome to Vote and Collect to support this work. Thanks to the book friend Lily Aquarius for the reward of 100 starting coins. Thanks to the book friends or Rangerfly 123, Lily Aquarius, looking at the night, ink-stained starry eyes, I'm a poor ghost 2333, source moss accumulated ashes, canyon of the evening breeze, pink hair, good chin and I compete, Leeline steps on the sky, heart looking at the sea, the heart at that time, Shulayan Sao, one night solitary sing. Pride in the bones, writing. Painting the mountains and rivers, black metal, I'm handsome cow, lodgered, deducting blood, little white elder, Ein Chusting, Feng Su Ishu, FFF group chief the judge, the salted fish holding 666, Wag, book friend 170,240,140,528,124. Book friend 201706142211383338, Rua Rubik, Zua Niwana, Anzi, Lan Xiu, whose boy are you, the dangerous person, the blue jade man, the phantom flame 11, the drunkard, the blood of yin and yang, Yachieu. Crazy about cats, Minecrafter, the Meteor Under the Sky 1989 book friends 2018125131011253 book friends. 151,207,082,521,291 entering the riddle book friends 2018023104214656 good and bad are called dogs. Book friends 15,081,601,082,825 clown XX melting snowman devil terror true 1H evil doll devil soul Dira flying and hiding in the ground it's so hard to name a pitfall. Thank you. Chapter 61 Tony's food, Link's stomach. Tony was rushed out of the hospital before his injury healed. He was not in the mood to continue his vacation, so he flew back to the United States with Link and others. Tony was busy in the kitchen. Pepper and Zelda were watching Link and Natasha practicing martial arts. Link was proficient in all kinds of cold weapons, and a fork could pierce Tony's visor. But his melee ability was much worse, and he was far from being Natasha's opponent. But Link wanted to know what the gap was between himself and Black Widow, a master with a combat skill value of 6 in the Marvel hero ability value. But he didn't expect to be beaten to a crushing blow. Natasha tripped Link to the ground with a scissor kick, locked Link's arm in an anti-joint position, and subdued him instantly. Natasha let go of Link and asked, "Why can't you fight without weapons? And you often use explosive weapons." Link said, "My strength cannot be brought out by hand-to-hand combat. I often use explosive weapons." Then he walked over and took out a bunch of dripping flowers from the vase. With a twist of his wrist, he made a sword flower. A faint sword energy gushed out, and with a swoosh, then the bouquet exploded like fireworks. Link said, "My strength needs a carrier to release. Knife, sword, gun, etc. If I use all my strength with my bare hands, I will only release the last terminal of the power, which is my fingers, which will cause harm to myself. Although it is impossible to explode like this flower, it will still be torn to pieces. Over time, I only use weapons." Natasha smiled and said, "Then I know one of your weaknesses." At this time, Tony knocked on the door and came in, shouting, "Dinner is ready." As one of the few words he remembered, Pepper's eyes lit up when he heard it, and he flew to open the door. Tony came in wearing a white chef's hat and an apron, pushing a food cart. Delicious food made by Tony Stark himself. This is a surprise I prepared for you. Tony can cook. Zelda and Pepper looked at each other. At home, Tony either ordered all kinds of takeout, such as hamburgers, pizza, sandwiches and other unrefined food, or Zelda used Tony's half-abandoned kitchen to make something to eat. But she had never seen Tony cook by himself. But Tony was good at everything. Maybe his cooking skills were unexpectedly good. Pepper and Zelda thought about it and curiously opened the lid. A pile of burnt food. Pepper asked, "Did you go to make food?" Tony was dissatisfied. "You stared at the food I made for 3 seconds, and you asked me?" Pepper smiled and said, "The ingredients on this plane are all top notch. You can destroy them like this. You are worthy of being Mr. Tony Stark." Tony spread his hands. "I spent my precious 2 hours to make this food." Then he looked at Zelda and said, "Zelda, you are a good girl. This is my thank you gift to you to thank you for flying thousands of miles to save me." Zelda smiled reluctantly. I'm not hungry now." Tony pulled down Pepper, who was lying on his head, and flattening his chef's hat, and placed it on the food he made. "Pepper, how do you think it tastes?" "Oh." Pepper sniffed with his little nose curiously. Tony was very pleased. Pepper was really a discerning person and never judged people by appearance. As a result, Pepper made a strange sound, and his body trembled with fear, and he ran away quickly. Natasha smiled and said, "As expected of Mr. Stark, the arms dealer, the food he makes is so shocking." Tony glared at Pepper. "Your reaction is too exaggerated. Pepper is an elf in the woods, especially afraid of fire, and has always only eaten some fruits and mushrooms." The food Tony made had a burnt smell, which scared Pepper at once. Link came over curiously, poked a piece of egg roll with a fork, and put it in his mouth. Then there was a crunch crunch sound. Natasha was shocked. Is that the sound that an egg roll can make? As a result, Link swallowed it naturally, picked up another piece, and said, "It tastes good." Tony breathed a sigh of relief, and said to everyone in a tone of disappointment, "You guys judge people by appearance. You don't even want to try it. How do you know that the food I make is not delicious? I, Tony Stark, can do anything." Then he also picked up a fork, poked an egg roll, and put it in his mouth. Then he chewed for a while, and then his expression inexplicably changed from relaxed to as if he was facing a great enemy. Then he wiped his mouth gently with a handkerchief with a blank expression. Then he stood up, went out as if nothing had happened, and went to find a trash can to spit out the food. Pepper laughed very disrespectfully. Pepper stood on Pepper's shoulder, not knowing what was going on, and also laughed like Pepper. 2 seconds later, Tony walked in, and saw Link still eating with relish, and asked in surprise, "How did you do it?" A question mark appeared on Link's head, and he had a very calm expression. "I think the food you cook is not bad. But it seems that there is no food that I hate." Zelda suppressed her laughter, and said to Tony, "Link's stomach is a bit strange. It can even eat ore." Then she thought for a while and added, "It seems that the only food Link dare not eat is frogs, nothing else." Tony took a breath. Natasha raised her eyebrows and silently added, "Or, Mr. Stark's food should at least taste better than ore." "Tony, why do you add so many hypothetical words in one sentence?" Oh. Pepper flew back and forth around Link. "You are worthy of being a brave man." In the end, all the things Tony made went into Link's stomach. Link has a 4-dimensional stomach that girls dream of, and his appetite is amazing. Tony was very moved by the end of the meal. What a good friend. After getting off the plane, Natasha suddenly received a call and her face changed. She said to Tony and Link, "S.H.I.E.L.D. needs your help." In New York, a rock giant suddenly rose from the ground in the city center, causing a lot of panic. "I hope you can solve this problem." "Rock giant?" Link was a little surprised. The rock giant was the same as the 2 stone monsters that appeared in the S.H.I.E.L.D. building. It was a monster made of rock. It had a huge body. Like the stone monster, it could not be destroyed by ordinary attacks. Its only weakness was the black, or on its head. The army only needs to focus fire on the black, or to quickly resolve the issue. Since S.H.I.E.L.D. has asked him to do it again, it means that the army cannot resolve the rock giant. Could it be that the rock giants in the Marvel world are different from those in Hyrule? Tony didn't care. "I repaired the MK5, and it can be opened now." Since your Department of Homeland Security and Defense is unable to solve this problem, I can help. Having just eaten, Link felt energetic, so he nodded and said, okay, let's go over there. Votes and collections are welcome. Thanks to the book friend Lily Shooping for the 200 starting coins reward. Thanks to book friends Dragon Fencing, Hellx Girl, Rainbow Afterimage, Wine Curtain, White Maple Leaf Shadow, Sweet Tofu Pudding, Spitfire, Crazy A Ocean, It's So Hard to Find a Book, Devouring King, Book Friend 160,914,944,255, Song of Frost and Fire. The curtain falls and music rises. Middle School House, Bariu, Mars hitting Jupiter, Zero Burial, Destroying Technology, Nothingness, Book Friend 201712231000400546, WKY 323, White and Black Sage. Hebio, Past Gone with the Wind, Emperor, Red Lotus Knight, Glass Aquarius, and the support of the recommendation votes of the starting point first system. Chapter 62 Battle needs music. So, why New York again? Tony asked in confusion. Why do things always happen here? Why do disasters love New York so much? Link and Zelda couldn't explain it clearly, and guessed, don't you often say that New York is the center of the world? So Ganon's puppets prefer this place. This time it was different from the centaur situation. The rock giant was born in the city center, the most prosperous area, but now it has become a pile of ruins. The rock giant wandered around and destroyed buildings. Several reporters and photographers hid in an unsafe area and risked their lives to report the incident, saying how many people died, how many military attacks ended in failure, how many buildings the rock giant destroyed, and how many ruins it created. Until now, the appearance of the rock giant has caused a severe blow to the New York economy. With every passing second, the economic losses caused are astronomical figures. Wait, who is that? Oh my god. It's Iron Man. Iron Man is flying. New York is saved. It's saved. Wait, there is another person following Iron Man. Yes, that person is also flying. Oh my god. I can see clearly, it's the elf Link. He is riding a bird-shaped machine and rushing over like a skateboard. Two superheroes appear at the same time. The next scene must be Iron Man and Link fighting the rock giant. Let's see if these two superheroes can defeat this hateful stone monster. They are flying over. Oh, no. Link fell down. What happened? In order to speed up, Link suddenly had a brilliant idea. He wanted to fly directly over on Zelda's bird, just like flying on a sword. So Natasha drove the vehicle, Zelda sat in the co-pilot, Tony flew in the sky, and Zelda controlled the bird to carry Link, and also rushed in the air. Link really likes the feeling of flying in the air. After flying for a while, he is about to reach the place where the rock giant was born. But Link's feet suddenly shook, and the bird began to tremble violently. In Link's headset, Zelda's anxious voice came, Link, no. Now I have reached the limit of my control over the bird. The bird is starting to lose control. Ugh. Link exclaimed, this is 200 meters high. He was deeply impressed by the tragic memory of falling from the sky when he first crossed over. Even though his health has increased to 8 grids now, and a fall of 200 meters will not kill him, Link still does not want to try the taste of falling from a high altitude again. The bird's wings suddenly folded up by themselves and began to fall sharply. Link also fell down. At this moment, Tony was flying in front and did not notice Link's danger. Jarvis said, Mr. Tony, there is something wrong with the bird. Link fell. What? Tony was shocked. Link was not the only one who was impressed by the high altitude fall. Tony quickly turned around and went to rescue Link. But as soon as he turned around, he saw Link, like jumping on the stairs, stepping on the shield, using the impact force of the enhanced bomb, wobbling, and flying up into the air again. Tony breathed a sigh of relief. Link, you scared my legs so much. The reporter was still reporting passionately. Oh my god. Did you see it? Link actually stepped on the shield and flew up again. He actually used the impact force of the bomb. How did he do it? Link himself was also scared and broke out in a cold sweat. He said to Tony, "Tony, you have a disability. You fly in the sky to attack the head of the rock giant, and I walk under the feet of the rock giant to attract attention." Ugh. Link covered his mouth. Using a shield and a bomb, you can't float in the air as steadily as Tony. When Link spoke, his body kept being rushed up by the bomb and then falling down under the influence of gravity. Up and down, it was extremely difficult to speak, and he accidentally bit his tongue. Link didn't say much, covered his mouth, and rushed towards the rock giant quickly. Link took out a Guardian Great Sword from the weapon space. This is the third generation of the Guardian Great Sword developed by Tony. According to Tony's proud introduction, this Great Sword is at least 3 times more durable than the previous generation of the Guardian Great Sword, and has a magical effect. Just press the metal button on the hilt. At that time, Tony smiled evilly and kept Link in suspense, so Link didn't know what this magic function was. Although the rock giant had no eyes, he still saw Link flying quickly, and then he put on his shield and swung the Great Sword from a high place, so he used his arm to block awkwardly. Link also pressed the metal button in anticipation. Will it release lightning, or will the surface of the sword release high temperature, or will the sword vibrate at a high frequency and have a stronger cutting ability? Wait and see. Let's shake it, baby. Twist it and scream. Come on, come on, come on. Don't be shy, baby. The Guardian Great Sword suddenly played deafening music, which scared Link's hand and almost let the Great Sword slip out of his hand. As a result, the momentum that had been brewing was lost. Link couldn't use all his strength. The sword hit the stone monster's arm and flew out. Link was carried backwards by the sword's huge force. When he turned around, he saw Tony flying over and exclaimed, "Is this the new function you installed on the sword?" Tony nodded with a mask on. "Yes, the Beatles' famous song, Twist and Shout." "Nice, right? The copyright fee is very expensive." Link helplessly shouted and flew away. "What's the use of this?" Tony shouted, "Don't you think that fighting can be exciting with background music?" Then he followed the song coming from the distant guard sword, nodding his head and attacking the rock giant to the rhythm of the music. Boom, boom, boom. Tony fired 3 lasers at the black ore of the rock giant's head, shook his shoulders, dodged the rock giant's fist, and flew to the side to continue firing lasers at the rock giant. The laser was injected into the ore, but it didn't even emit a light and was completely absorbed. Tony frowned. "How strange. I can't hit it." Link had already rushed over with his great sword, shouting, "Tony, how do I turn off the music with this thing?" Tony dodged the rock giant's blow and shouted, "Press that metal button again." Link pressed the button. Da 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 da. Link shouted helplessly, "Why did you only cut one song? I want the music to stop." Tony joked, "Sorry, Link, I forgot. I didn't set a button to turn off the music. This is called obeying the current trend of minimalist design. Unfortunately, I installed the complete set of Beatles songs in the past 10 years in it. You may need to listen to all of them before you can stop." "Really?" Link nodded expressionlessly. He knew Tony was deliberately teasing him. So he stuck the singing great sword of the guards into the ground beside him and sat on a large piece of granite with his arms folded. Tony asked, "Link, are you angry?" "Oh, that was close. He was almost hit by a punch from the rock giant just now." Link shook his head. "No, I didn't." Tony shouted, "Okay, I won't make such jokes again. Come on, let's fight together." Link continued to shake his head and smiled. "You fight first. Wait until I finish listening to the song before fighting." Tony. "Oh Link, don't do this." Tony shifted his stiff gaze to the rock giant that was as big as his house, and his Adam's apple shook up and down awkwardly. Roar 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 roar. The rock giant roared. "Please vote and collect." Thanks to the book friend Kaina Umeo for the 100 starting coins reward support. Thanks to the book friend Minecrafter for the 100 starting coins reward support. Thanks to my book friends, Glass Bottle, Salted Fish Holding 666, GXKJ, Hatsune Miku 1217, Drunk Talker, WKY 323, Little White Elder, Balwonks, Legend of the Sky, Clown XX, Black Metal, Barayu, Butterfly Joy. In fact, my heart is more tired, my heart is stained with blood, Senlin, Rusky 560. Ying Chusting, it's better not to smile than to smile. Lemon Miss 7, the nine-tailed fox is not a spirit. Thousand Moon Cat, Chengying and Hangang, Yesod, riddle of entering the array. Wind follows water. Yimanglige, he bio. The professor's last name is not Do. Shameful and moral. Book friends. 201706142211383338. Temptation to the bone. Lan Xiu. The clouds of Volt friends are gone. Yeheha. Rua Rubik. Whose boy are you? Crazy about cats. Book friends. 2018112513011253. Book friends 150,207. 14,544,967,701. Cool Moonlight. Dragon fencing. Pride in the bones. Brother Bayo. I'm Heesun. Hunting opposite. Lonely Zutong. Dak. Minecrafter. I'm watching the sea and the mountains. The Devouring King. XTP 123. Emperor Crimson Knight. Jkill 1741. Orangefire 123. Book friend 2018050819243558. Halo 556. Mango is too busy and too busy with recommendation votes for support. Chapter 63. Fighting the Rock Giant. Edited. Tony was driven back and forth by the long arms of the rock giant. During this time, he was hit once, and a piece of his chest armor sank. Link. I'm dying. Tony desperately released several rays of light at the rock giant, but just like his hundreds of attacks before, it didn't work at all. He could only fly away again to dodge, and attack again from a different angle. Although the rock giant seemed to have no brain, in fact, in just a few minutes, it had grasped Tony's flight trajectory and began to predict an attack, posing a great threat to Tony. It even used its arms to swing to bring strong and chaotic airflow, interfering with Tony's flight, causing Tony to be in constant danger. Link was standing next to him, holding a guard sword, bowing his head, and looking a little solemn, but he didn't seem to have any intention of coming to help. The rock giant's moves were simple, straightforward, but his body was huge and full of strength. This simple and pure power made Tony unable to start. At this moment, Zelda and Natasha had arrived. Seeing Tony fighting the rock giant alone, Natasha exclaimed, "Is Link injured?" "I found him," Zelda said. Link stood beside him in a daze. Peppa helped Zelda get back the out of control bird. Zelda put on her glasses again, touched the legs of her glasses with her index finger, adjusted the parameters, and reactivated the bird. The bird flapped its wings, rushed forward, and fired at the rock giant head on, but it didn't work at all. Zelda was puzzled. Although it failed to hurt the rock giant, it distracted the stone monster's attention, which greatly reduced Tony's pressure. Tony finally took a breath, and said to the bird, "I seem to have pissed off Link. He doesn't want to fight anymore." Natasha and Zelda looked at each other. Link was pissed off, but Link was very calm on the edge of the battlefield. Zelda didn't believe that Link was such a person who didn't care about the overall situation. She and Link had a tacit understanding and immediately guessed what Link was going to do. So he said to Tony, "Although I don't know how you offended Link, Tony, Link is not angry with you. The two of us are responsible for interfering with the rock giant, and we will try to attack and test as much as possible to provide Link with more time to adjust." Adjustment time. Yes. Zelda looked at Link. At this moment, her knight was holding the hilt of the sword, and his eyes seemed a little ethereal. Link opened his mouth slightly, adjusting his breathing, heartbeat, and even the frequency of his internal organs. Link knew the attack of Iron Man best. How could he not cause any damage to the rock giant after multiple consecutive and intensive attacks? What a terrible defensibility. Link knew that, even if he rushed up at this moment, he would not be able to help. He must adjust himself to the best state and use all his strength to break the defense of the rock giant. Zelda controlled the bird, hovering over the rock giant's head, violently releasing light and other attacks, roaring at its weak point black ore, but it had no effect at all. Could it be that the rock giant has no weakness at all now? Tony turned around and found Link's expression, which was indeed very serious, so he and Zelda attacked the rock giant from all directions. The fight was fierce here, and the reporter explained with a dry mouth, at present Iron Man and a bird-shaped mecha are besieging the rock giant, but they have been attacking for more than 10 minutes, but there is no effect at all. The rock giant has not caused even a piece of rubble. Is there no one who can subdue the rock giant? Link is still standing there quietly. I don't know what he is doing with the sword, and he has no intention of helping his companions at all. Is this superhero afraid of the rock giant? Under his playback, the whole world saw Link cowardly standing aside, daring not to step forward and fight the rock giant with his companions. There is also a big title on the video, "Why doesn't the brave Link dare to fight?" As time goes by, Link beat Tony at the banquet, duel with Centaur in the suburbs of New York, fight Hulk alone, hate 2 monsters, etc. The battle video circulated. Link's strength is known to everyone, and he has almost become the recognized world's strongest superhero. At this moment, the strongest superhero sat and watched his friend Iron Man and the rock giant fight for their lives without doing anything. This puzzled everyone. Now the eyes of the people all over the world were focused on Link. Just when the media began to edit and criticize Link maliciously, at this moment, Link exhaled, and his eyes shone, as if there was an invisible flame burning. The moment Link walked forward, people all over the world who were watching this disaster in front of the TV cheered in unison. Oh, Link is finally on the battlefield and ready to fight. Good job, go. Defeat this bastard monster. Link put the guard sword into the weapon space and rushed up quickly. Tony shouted, "Link, have you rested well?" Link said, "I hope your sword is strong enough." Detonated the bomb, stepped on the shield and jumped up. The rock giant roared, and the rock fist swung. Link stepped on the fist lightly, took advantage of the force to jump again, and jumped onto the head of the rock giant, pulling out the Guardian Great Sword, spinning, and shouting. Link awakened Darkle, and a huge light blue shadow appeared behind him, following Link's movements, and swinging the rock-crushing Great Sword hard. The Great Sword swung and slashed at the black ore again and again, sparks flying. Link turned 15 times and slashed the black ore 15 times horizontally. Black stone chips flew everywhere. Just as Link suddenly shouted loudly and prepared to swing down violently, and the last blow was about to hit the black ore vertically, snap! The Guardian Great Sword collapsed. It was at this moment Link spat out a mouthful of blood, and the shadow of Darkle behind him instantly shattered. Link's last blow missed, and the Guardian Great Sword actually exploded into pieces after the spinning and slashing, becoming the sword with the shortest lifespan during Link's use. Link also fell hard on the shoulder of the rock giant because of his lack of strength. The noisy music finally stopped. Link's hands, which were bleeding from the knuckles, trembled, and he stretched them toward the sky, shouting, "Tony, didn't you say that the durability of your sword was increased by 3 times? How did it break so quickly? I was almost able to smash it." Tony was still amazed at Link's strength, although he only cut off a few fragments on the black ore. Tony himself didn't even cut out any fragments. Tony reluctantly replied, "But the power you used was at least 30 times greater than usual. Be careful." The rock giant punched Link, and Link's blonde hair flew as he felt a heavy wind blowing. He did a backflip to dodge the punch. Tony shouted, "Link, come down quickly. It's too dangerous up there." Link looked at his bleeding hands, ignored Tony's words, and thought, "No, it's almost there." Black ore needs a strong blunt blow to be destroyed, and the existing strength is completely unable to do this. The main reason is that the weapon is not strong enough. If I had Thor's hammer, I would definitely be able to smash the black ore with all my strength. Link looked around, but couldn't find a weapon that suited his needs. The flying Iron Man in the sky was pretty good, using Iron Man to smash the rock giant's head. But Tony would be very dissatisfied. Please vote and collect. Thanks to my book friend Lily Shooping for his 500 Kidian coins. Thanks to my book friend Zinayu Shadow for his 500 Kidian coins. Thanks to my book friends Fan Mayo, KO90, watching you sell your first title, John Farrell, Phantom Knight, Andy, Love Out of Reach, Moonrider Wolf, AI009, The Heart at That Time, Autumn Wind 113, The Prosperous End of the City, The Sad Wind of the Painted Fan, The Devil Pterosaur, Got, Handsome Attitude, The Wolf Howl Under the Plastic Moon. Z Yun Heyo. Book friend 201705282141365110. Stowaway. I'm a poor ghost 2333. Shadow of the New Moon. Book friend. 150,907,115,818,708. LUOK long. I'm nothing. Book friend 161,204,164,355,359. Carousel. Tut 123 cac. Beacon fire and wolf smoke. Canyon of evening breeze. Little match girl. Sword pointing to the sky. Free and easy fantasy flame. Dragon. Spitfire. Keeksy. Handsome attitude. Ulward. Drunken talker. Broken wings for you. Pink hair. Book friend. 140,318,190,214,671. Book friend 2017061422138338. Devouring King. Yushin Legend. Glass Aquarius. Waters Flame Island. Shadows recommendation votes support. Chapter 64 Rock Climbing Master. I was very unhappy with the writing of the previous chapter. I felt that I was obsessed with explaining a very troublesome thing. I looked left and right and found something wrong. I have made some changes. If you find it strange, you can review the previous chapter. Just now, Link used the strongest force he could mobilize, but Tony's weapon was too disappointing. It exploded at the critical moment, causing Link to fail. He also suffered internal injuries, because the last force was held in his chest. The rock giant roared, and waved his arms wildly. Link jumped on the rock giant's head, but there was only a little space above. When Link jumped up, the rock giant seized the gap, and hit him with a punch. Link gritted his teeth, and blocked with his shield. His body flew backwards. His face turned pale, and he vomited black blood again. His health value dropped by 4 hearts. Zelda hurriedly urged the bird to dive, and lifted Link's body. Zelda asked anxiously, Link, I'm fine. Link wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and his face became rosy again. The heavy blow from the rock just now caused Link to vomit the blood caused by his internal injuries. Although it hurt, he could breathe more freely. After Link was injured, Tony immediately attacked wildly to share the pressure of the rock giant. Tony shouted, Link, what should we do? Retreat? At this moment, the rock giant's huge fist hit Tony as he was talking. Tony shouted, not good. Jarvis shouted, Mr. Tony, if you get hit this time, the survival rate will be less than 1%. Tony's heart sank, and he hurriedly shouted, Jarvis, take off your suit. The people watching this battle in front of the TV took a breath of cold air when they saw that Iron Man was about to be hit by the rock giant. Then a crack appeared on Iron Man's back, and Tony fell out. Just a second after Tony left Iron Man's body, the Mk5 was deformed by a fist as big as an excavator and crashed through a building. It is conceivable what would happen if Tony stayed an Iron Man. Tony fell backwards, thinking, at this height, my pelvis might be shattered. Ahaha. Peeper activated the thrusters, rushed over quickly, and grabbed Tony's collar in midair. Tony was overjoyed. Well done. Ahaha. Ahaha. He was not happy for long when he heard a tearing sound. Peeper found that Tony's clothes could not bear the weight and tore apart. Tony shouted, no, and continued to fall. Oh. Peeper took a breath, stared with 2 small eyes, and dived down desperately. Just when Tony's head was only half a meter above the ground, Peeper grabbed Tony's trouser legs and stopped the fall. Tony looked up at the ground, swinging back and forth, feeling that he was numb with fear. Just when he was about to thank Peeper, he heard another tearing sound. The pants were also torn, and Tony was naked, with only a pair of shorts and shoes left, and fell to the ground with a thud. Ugh. Tony rolled on the ground with a bump on his head, mumbling, don't let the media know what I look like. Tony didn't know that his naked appearance had been broadcast, live to the world. Pepper, help me, find a piece of clothing. Clothes. Since Zelda and Link usually spoke in Hylian, Tony also learned a few words, including clothes. Oh. Pepper nodded and went to find clothes happily. The reporter was still reporting in a hoarse voice. Iron Man has been defeated by the rock giant. Link was also knocked away by the rock giant. Is there really no way to defeat the rock giant? Who can save us? Seeing that Tony was fine, Link breathed a sigh of relief and said to Zelda, hurry up and take me to the top of the rock giant. You don't have a weapon now, it's very dangerous. Zelda was worried. Link shook his head. Maybe there are other ways. We can't just run away like this, right? So Zelda used the flying bird to carry Link and flew over the rock giant's head. The reporter shouted, we saw it. Link hasn't given up yet. He's still going to attack the rock giant. Hold on, Link. Wait. The rock giant's fist is coming again. How should Link deal with this attack? Link's body was stagnant by the strong wind of the rock fist coming towards him, and then he suddenly jumped up. At this time, the flying bird also quickly dived down. One man and one bird, one up and one down, to avoid the huge rock fist. Link fell down, stepped on the rock giant's fist, stood firm, and ran quickly to the head. The reporter shouted, come on, Link. Come on. Roar, roar, roar. The rock giant roared and smashed Link with his other fist. Link suddenly felt his breathing become dull, as if he was in the deep sea. The fist had not yet arrived, but the fist wind had already forced Link to bend down. Link quickly rolled forward, dodging the rock giant's fist by a hair's breadth. But the rock giant's fist smashed into his arm, breaking it abruptly. Stones flew around, and several pieces of gravel hit Link. Link felt a sharp pain in his abdomen, and his eyes smacked. Blood flashed in his vision, and his face was scratched by the sharp and high-speed gravel, leaving a bloody mark. The reporter screamed. Link successfully used the rock giant's own attack to break his arm. Oh. Link fell down. Zelda lost her voice. Link. Link fell on the rock giant's shoulder. The rock giant shook violently, and Link slid down. Just as he was about to fall, Link's fingers tightly grasped the rock, and he hung on the rock giant's back and swung around. Roar, roar, roar. The rock giant shook his body, trying to throw Link off. But Link, like a gecko, clung to the rock with one hand, and no matter how he swung, he would not fall down. Zelda breathed a sigh of relief. As long as Link held on, he would not fall down. No one in the world can compare to Link in climbing walls and rocks. So he hurriedly controlled the flying bird to interfere with the rock giant so that he would not throw an arm on his back and crush Link to death. When Link's body was swaying randomly, he suddenly saw that the broken stone arm on the torso of the rock giant was actually regenerating. Link sighed, this guy is so difficult to deal with. But then, Link's mind suddenly became clear. His eyes became firm again. The reporter shouted, Link is still climbing up. He didn't give up. Link tried his best to lie on his stomach, and the knuckles of his hands were cracked, so there was a blood mark on each hand, which looked a bit tragic. These scenes all appeared in the live broadcast. Link jumped up, turned over and jumped onto the head of the rock giant. Black ore. My collection just reached 4,000 yesterday, and I was going to take a screenshot and send it to the group as a souvenir, but suddenly the collection dropped to 3,999. I stared at him and refreshed it 3 or 4 times, and it was back to 4,000 collections, and I felt relieved. Thank you to my book friend Lily Shooping for the 500 Kidian coins. Thank you to Master Ka for the 500 Kidian coins. Thanks to the handsome attitude, Ulward, drunken talker, broken wings for you, pink hair, book friend 140,318,190,214,671, book friend. 201706142211383338, Devouring King, Legend of the Sky, Glass Aquarius, Water Island, Painted Fan Sad Wind and Sorrow Moon, Shadow, Book Friend. 201708271602485513, Emperor Red Lotus Knight, Kyankan Cat, Bonelian Pride, Incredible Will, Yijiu, 12, John Farrell, Stephen Bin, Phantom Knight, Kill Wolf 88, Apostle 0, Look at You, and others selling your Head Helex Girl, Old Friend Cloud Sanjin, Yimanglij, Black Charcoal Mushroom, Myoses, Whose Boy Are You, I'm Nothing, Tusky 10032, Feng Sushu, Book Friend 201803082141244706. Clown XX, Black Sails Pirate, Book Friend 16,040,200,755,058, Hegemon, Indescribably Handsome Miserable Middle-Aged Man, Tie Inosani, Hibaro, Crazy for Cats, Senlin, Takisakiza, Actually More Tired, Riddle of Entering the Battle, Lingranan. Douglas Salted Fish Lone Wolf, Unruly Feng, Xiaoyao Shineling, Bei Iron City Lord, Yi Gucheng. 7 Flower Combination Boxing Champions Recommendation Ticket Support. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 65 Shield Counter. Link sat on the top of the rock giant, panting. He clenched his fists, and the blood scabs and dust on the surface of his skin were all shaken off. He gathered his hands into a shuttle shape and blew hard, and a melodious whistle sounded. The rock giant looked up stupidly. Link took out a bomb from the 4th dimension, smashed it hard on the black ore of the rock giant, and then detonated it. Although Link's bomb had the attack power of chopsticks and did not hurt the rock giant at all, it still angered the rock giant and roared wildly, swinging his fists to hit him. When the bomb exploded, Link took out the guard shield to resist the impact of the bomb. Seeing the rock giant swinging his fist, he did not dodge or evade, holding the shield, looking for an opportunity, and countered with a shield. Tap. The rock giant's fist was suddenly bounced away, and Link sat on the black ore, motionless. The reporter shouted, "Did you see that? Shield counter. Link's special move." The rock giant's attack bounced back. "Link is serious?" Natasha asked Zelda. "Link has such a strong shield counter. Why didn't he use it before?" Zelda looked at Link intently, controlling the bird to circle over the rock giant's head. Zelda's face was very solemn. Link's shield counter is not always successful. Once it fails, he will be hit hard by the rock giant. Although the shield counter looks very powerful, it is actually stronger when facing a strong enemy and weaker when facing a weak enemy. And facing a strong enemy, once the shield counter fails, you will be completely defenseless. Facing a monster of the level of the rock giant, using a shield counter is undoubtedly a gamble with your life. Natasha immediately took out her mobile phone and reported the situation to Nick. Nick and the receiver said, "Then let Link and Tony evacuate quickly." "Yes." Natasha told Zelda the news. Zelda shook her head. "I will talk to Link, but he will definitely refuse." Zelda called Link with a flying bird. "Link, let's retreat. Find other ways to defeat the rock giant." Then she whispered to Natasha, "Link will definitely refuse." Sure enough, Link shouted, "Wait. Give me time. I only need one rock giant to defeat the rock giant." Nick and the receiver also heard Link's shouting and was very puzzled. This brat, has he lost his temper? He has already lost, but still insists on. Wait. Nick was also watching the live broadcast sent by the reporter at the edge of the battlefield. Frowning, this kid is not afraid at all, and he doesn't seem to want to be angry. Does he really have a killer weapon? At this moment, Tony was huddled under a giant ruin. Looking around, he couldn't find any clothes to wear. He watched Link and the rock giant fight for a long time. Link had no chance to attack, except passive defense and dodging. Thinking to himself, maybe detonating the arc reactor can destroy this monster. At this time, Peppa shouted, "Ahaha, I'm bringing clothes." Tony limped forward. "You are still reliable, Peppa." Peppa threw the clothes he found to Tony. Tony looked at the clothes that Peppa brought him, and his face, which was originally smiling, suddenly turned green. Tony was shirtless, holding the clothes with his hands on his waist, looking like he didn't know what to say, and questioned Peppa, "Do you think I look good dressed as Super Mario?" Peppa scratched his head, not understanding what Tony meant, and said tenderly, "The clothes I picked are very nice. You can see there are red and blue ones. They are very cute. Last time I wore them, Princess Zelda praised me for being cute." He explained in a babbling voice, but Tony didn't understand at all. It was a different time now. Even if it was Mario, it didn't matter. It was better than being naked. Tony shook his head while putting on his clothes. So, a strange man wearing blue high-waisted overalls and a red shirt appeared on the edge of the battlefield. "Oh." Peppa remembered something. Suddenly, he opened his visor, took off the green hat on his little head, flew over and covered Tony's head. Beautiful. Look. Red, blue, green. Peppa babbled with satisfaction. He liked bright colors. The more colorful, the better. Ah. Tony sighed and lowered the green duckbill hat that Peppa gave him to cover his face. He knew that he had no common language of aesthetics with the forest elves in this alien world. Speaking of Link, he jumped left and right and perfectly shielded the rock giant's punches 5 times in a row. His condition was surprisingly good, but Link's face gradually became ugly. 5 times. Still unsuccessful. Link picked up a bomb and smashed it on the top of the rock giant's head, and then detonated it. Link whistled again to provoke the rock giant. He had to make the rock giant angry and reckless. The rock giant had been fighting with Link for a while and was furious. He punched at his head again. Link shouted in his heart, "Do it again." He jumped up suddenly and countered with a shield. However, at this moment, the rock giant's fist stopped strangely in the air and continued to rush towards Link. But Link's arm had already been swung out, and the best time for shield counter was over. While Link was distracted, the rock giant's fist hit the tilted shield. Link's left wrist was broken on the spot, the guard shield exploded, and he flew backwards with his head raised. Link, Zelda, Tony, and Natasha screamed. Zelda felt like she was electrocuted, her hands trembled, and she hurriedly controlled the bird to jump down and fly under Link. At the critical moment, she caught Link. Link stood firm on the bird, and the rock giant punched again, and the bird took Link and flew around to dodge. Link shouted, "Shield, give me a shield." Zelda said worriedly, "Stop, Link, your hand." But Link smiled unexpectedly. "It's okay, just a broken wrist. But I've gained a lot. I've tried 6 times, and I'm sure it will work this time. Princess, help me find a shield." Zelda looked around anxiously, and suddenly her eyes lit up, saying, "Link, my bird can be turned into a shield. I even pre-installed a handle." "Okay." Link shouted, "Hurry up and turn the bird into a shield." Then he threw the earphones in his ear holes, jumped up 3 meters. The bird's body expanded and turned into a large shield, spinning and flying into Link's hand. The rock giant's fist flew over, and Link had nowhere to get leverage in the air, like a living target. His left hand was fractured, and Link held the bird's shield in his right hand. "This is the only chance." Link raised his eyebrows and swung his shield. It collided with the rock giant's fist. Bang! Link's wrist turned subtly, and his fist was immediately bounced back, but this time it did not bounce back straight, but at a deflected angle, heading straight for the rock giant's own weakness, the black ore. Bang! The fist hit the black ore hard. Cracks spread all over the black ore. Crack! It broke apart. Thanks to bookfriend Minecrafter for his 500 starting coins reward support. Thanks to Indescribably Handsome for his 1000 starting coins reward support. Thanks to the following: It is better not to smile than to smile. WKY 323, Yesad, Dawn Glory, Uluoli AI, Kuang Shao Shan, Nine-Tailed Fox Not Yet Becomes a Spirit, AI Manayu, Keeksy, Master Cap, I'm a Poor Ghost 2333, Kayun, Bookfriend. 150,907,115,818,708. Bookfriend 201803021526192008. Rusky 560. Hunting on the contrary. Beacon Fire playing Wolf Smoke. Starting point first system. Mars hitting Jupiter. Bookfriend 150,207,145,449,701. Evil Doll. Yi Hanxio. Ceiling Lonely. Bookfriend 161,028,084,558,095. Bookfriend 20182041757222613. Cheyenne Wang Hubeo Temple. Bookfriends 20181110821200658. The Other Side is the Other Side. Change Paradise. Mobe Wulang T. Barayu. Minecrafter. Feng Huazuai. Bookfriends. 140,428,233,859,509. Ying Chusting, Zonja's house. Jabba's 0. Book friends 2018050410534780. Book friends 2017031132017674. A Song of Frost and Fire. Super funny. Doll. The red flag is rolling in the west wind. The white and black sage. The professor's surname is not Do. And D. Unreachable love. Jiangnan Shanayu recommended votes support. Chapter 66 Super. Link fell down, and the flying bird shield in his hand swayed left and right and could not close. It must be because he had just used the shield to deflect the impact force, but he did not achieve a 100% shield. Link threw the bomb downwards, stepped on the shield to reduce the impact force, then bent his knees and touched the ground with his toes and landed gently on the ground. Link rushed forward and ran around looking for the rock giant's dropped items. Tony and Peppa finally came to their senses. They did not expect Link to defeat his opponent so decisively. They hurriedly limped up, but could not find Link's figure. At this time, Zelda and Natasha also climbed over the ruins and came to the center of the battlefield. They asked hurriedly, "Where did Link go?" Tony said, "I don't know." After he jumped down, he hurriedly went to find something. Peppa flew to a high place and shouted, "Ah! Found it. The brave man is there." Peppa pointed to a large ruin. Zelda and the others rushed over and found that Link was sitting on a huge monster, looking very depressed. And under his body was at least 2 cubic super diamonds. Link worked hard to defeat the rock giant, thinking that the rock giant would give him something, whether it was a strange fruit that could increase life or endurance, or a weapon from Hyrule. But the rock giant, of course, exploded minerals, but unexpectedly, it was a huge diamond. However, this could not make up for Link's disappointment. Fortunately, at this time, the goddess Hylia's murmur sounded in his ears. Complete the trial of the brave. Get skills. Get a heart container. Get an energy container. Get skills. Stop time. Get 2 heart containers. Get 3 energy containers. The wounds inside and outside Link's body were repaired rapidly, and his health value popped and 2 hearts appeared. At this moment, Link had a total of 10 hearts, more than 3 times what he had when he first crossed over. The energy bar has also increased to more than 2.5 circles. Now the strength is far from the level of bending steel bars, but can pull steel bars like pulling noodles. Time stop. Link's eyes lit up, and the regret of not getting a weapon was immediately wiped out. Time stop is Link's favorite skill on the Sheikah slate. Now the bomb, ice maker, magnetic grabber, and time stop, the 4 major skills of the Sheikah slate, are finally gathered. At this time, Tony's voice was heard. "Link, Yorick." Link jumped down indifferently, hugged Zelda, and looked at the giant diamond behind him helplessly. He is not short of money. So far, according to Jarvis, the value of Link's destroyed weapons from Tony has added up to more than $5 million. Tony crossed his arms and studied the supergiant diamond carefully. It's amazing. Was it exploded by the rock giant? The rock giant might be part of a white dwarf. Although the value of diamonds is just a scam, of course, such a large size is also worth a fortune. Link, what do you want to do with this supergiant diamond? Now Peppa's eyes are shining, rolling around on the big diamond, very happy. Link didn't think twice. Give it to the princess. Zelda blushed. Natasha smiled and said, "Why don't you take the opportunity to propose to me?" Tony also hurried to make something happen, whistling. As a result, he accidentally attracted all the attention to him. Tony thrust his hips. "What's wrong? This is the clothes Peppa picked for me. What's wrong with the aesthetics of Hyrule?" Everyone laughed. The reporter saw the rock giant being defeated by Link from afar and was so excited that he was at a loss for words, just like a fanatical South American football commentator. "Where is Link? Where is Link? Our hero Link, why hasn't he come out yet? Oh, I saw him. Hey?" Link was seen holding a giant diamond with a diameter of 2 meters high in both hands, staggering out with great effort, trying to keep his balance. At this moment, under the sunlight, the diamond reflected a brilliant light, and Link seemed to be holding a ball of light full of life and joy, which directly stunned the reporter. Zelda, Tony and others followed from a distance, fearing that if Link was not careful, the giant diamond would slip and hurt them. Only the flying Pepper curiously lay on the top of the diamond. Oh, staring with his little eyes, sticking to the diamond to carefully observe the strange brilliance inside. Several people struggled to carry the big diamond back to Stark Building. Link was too lazy to move it upstairs, so he just threw it in the hall and ignored it for the time being. Anyway, he was not afraid of losing it. Such a big diamond could not be put into his pocket, nor could it be moved. If he left it there, no one could steal it. The employees of Stark Company watched curiously. Happy was guarding beside him with a dignified look on his face. The light reflected by the diamond illuminated half of Happy's body. Natasha went back to report on her work, while Tony and others went to the top floor. Tony opened the door and saw Pepper Potts sitting in front of the TV at a loss. Seeing Tony coming back, she finally breathed a sigh of relief and rushed up to hug Tony. Just now, Pepper Potts saw the scene of Iron Man being crushed by a punch on the live TV, and she was so scared that she screamed. "You finally came back safely." Pepper kissed Tony and suddenly froze. She looked up and down at Tony's magically matched red, blue, and green clothes and asked, "When did you like to dress up like a plumber?" Tony gritted his teeth, but Pepper was the hero who saved him twice, so he had to pretend not to care and said, "Otherwise, I can only come back naked. Of course, I don't mind showing off my muscles in front of the world. And, my legs hurt so much. There is a big bump behind my head. Can you help me get an ice pack? I need to rest for a while." Tony lay on the sofa. Zelda went to the workshop to repair the bird, while Link and Pepper sat aside, happily eating fruit and watching TV. As a result, the TV played the scene where Tony fell down, and Pepper tore Tony's shirt and pants continuously, leaving only a pair of shorts, and falling to the ground. Pepper laughed heartlessly, and Tony felt his legs hurt even more. At this time, his good friend Roddy arrived. Tony shouted, "Hi. Long time no see." Roddy walked up to Tony with a tangled look on his face and hugged him. "You've been through a lot of danger these days, but luckily you're safe." Then he also greeted Link. "Hi, Link. You did a great job fighting the rock giant. I avenged my poor comrades." After that, Roddy poured himself a glass of wine. "Tony, you just went through a big battle. I'm really not a good friend for suddenly running up to you to embarrass you." Tony's smile faded, and he said frivolously, "I know. The people in the military commission are forcing the military to ask for Iron Man again, and your superior chose to give this difficult problem to you, my brother. A book friend sent me a red envelope of 2,000 Kidian coins for recommendation tickets. Thank you, but please don't send it again. It won't help much, and it will affect my editor's judgment of the data of my work. It also costs money. 2,000 Kidian coins can subscribe to works for a long time. There is no need to spend money in vain." My writer's assistant backend was just like exploding with a large number of recommendation votes. However, as you all know, I write thank you notes for each chapter, so it took me a long time to find my real book friends. You may be wondering, with so many book friends voting every day, do you remember them? I remember them, and I copy down your IDs every day. I remember every book friend who supports me. Thank you. The blank thank you note yesterday has been filled in. There is still one chapter before 12 o'clock. Chapter 67, Research and Development of New Skills. Zelda had just repaired the bird and walked out of the studio. She sat next to Link with Pepper on her lap. Seeing Tony's gloomy face, she whispered to Link, "What's wrong?" Link also whispered to Zelda's ear, "The military is looking for Tony again for Iron Man." This couldn't help but make people angry. Tony and Link had just experienced a life and death battle, defeated the rock giant, and surrounded the citizens to safety. As a result, they had just taken a break and didn't even have time to breathe. The military came to put pressure on Tony. How could Tony not be angry? Roddy himself felt very guilty and almost dared not look at Tony directly. Tony shook his finger. "Iron Man, sorry, I don't doubt the intelligence of your military, but some of you may not have good eyesight. Didn't you see on the screen? Iron Man was flattened by the rock giant's fist and was scrapped. If you want the scrapped machine, just take it. After all, it uses top grade metal materials, and you can sell scrap metal for a lot of money. Maybe it's enough for you to make a few bullets. Rode shook his head and said, "It's not just you who is angry about this matter. I'm the same. I believe you, but others don't. They yelled at me, 'Tony, you liar. Didn't you promise other countries or institutions that it would take 10 to 5 years to develop products of the same level?' Order the military to order Tony to hand over Iron Man. I cherish our friendship, and I won't bother you anymore. Goodbye." Tony saw that Rode looked very entangled and knew that he was caught in the middle, with military orders on one side and friendship on the other, and he was very embarrassed. Tony couldn't help but soften his heart. Said, "Wait. I'll take you to get the war machine." Tony limped to his feet, pursing his lips. Rode ran up to help him, but Tony pushed him away. The military got the war machine as they wished and made a deal with Hammer, letting Hammer reprogram the war machine's operating system in exchange for a bunch of broken iron such as ex-wife from Hammer Industries. If Tony heard the news, he would probably curse. In a few days, Tony and Zelda developed new versions of Iron Man and Astrak, and even Pepper a small battlesuit. Once technology appears, it means it is already behind. Tony is confident that he can create a battlesuit that far exceeds the war machine within half a year. This technological gap is something that others can never surpass. Link was not idle either. Since he awakened the Ice Maker and Time Stop skills, he has been honing new tactics. This time, Link was very depressed in the fight with the rock giant. The whole city was passive, and he could only rely on shield counter to turn the tide. He wanted to obtain stronger power and weapons. The Ice Maker in the Marvel world has far more functions than the one in Hyrule. It is equivalent to Link mastering the basic ability to use ice. And Link is trying to fully exert the power of the Ice Maker. Zelda controls the bird to fight Link. The bird spreads its wings, slides down, aims at Link, and stretches out its claws. Link holds a long sword and swings it in the air. A blade of ice condensed by cold air appears in the sky and slashes at the bird. However, the ice shatters at the touch of special metal materials. The bird was only shaken by the force released by Link, and then continued to fly. Tony was wearing sunglasses, and Pepper, who was also wearing small sunglasses, stood on his shoulder, watching Link practice martial arts. Tony said, "Link's ice skill is still too weak, and there is no damage at all. Of course, it is a very convenient skill. I don't need to ask the waiter to put ice cubes in my wine glass in the future. But it's a pity that Link doesn't drink." Pepper hummed the ballad circulated in the Kralo forest and swayed left and right. Brave sir, Link easily dodged the bird and released cold air in his hands. Instantly, a layer of ice covered the surface of the bird. But it was still the same result. The ice broke in an instant, broke free, and flew back into the sky. It didn't work. The weapons made by the Ice Maker broke at the touch, and using cold air to restrain the enemy's movements was a little effective. But in a battle between life and death, it would be better to let Link directly hit the enemy to make him stiff. The binding ability is not good, and the attack ability is not good. Even if the Ice Maker can be used for other purposes, it seems to be the same as in the game, with only a meager effect like allowing people to walk on water. Link was a little disappointed. Link was surrounded by cold air, and a layer of frost formed under his feet. Looking at his hands covered with white frost, he wondered what other uses the Ice Maker had. It was estimated that the Ice Maker would be upgraded like a bomb in the later stage. But is it useless now? No, there must be some other use. The bird in the distance released a laser, and Link was stunned when he saw the laser. He seemed to have found a way to use the Ice Maker at this stage. The cold air in his left hand condensed and quickly formed an ice shield. The durability of the shield was extremely low, and it would almost collapse at the touch. But, click, with a wave of his arm, the laser was reflected back to the bird, and a large cloud of thick smoke exploded. Then Link took out the bow from the weapon space, without placing the bow and arrow, and drew the bow with his bare hands. When the bow was fully charged, a white ice arrow suddenly appeared. It stabbed out fiercely and shot the bird away. It knocked the bird down. The ice in Link's hand rose again, forming an ice sword. He rushed over quickly and threw it hard at the bird. Snap. The ice sword exploded on the bird's body. The indicator light of the bird's eyes suddenly dimmed, and it was obviously damaged by Link. However, this bird was just an old model. The new version of the bird in Zelda has been completed, which is equivalent to destroying the old things. But this incident gave Link a new discovery. He found that a certain characteristic of his was preserved. When the weapon is about to collapse, throwing the weapon and smashing it on the enemy can cause a critical hit. And Link naturally cannot carry so many weapons to fight. But the ice sword can perfectly utilize this characteristic. The ice device basically breaks when it is touched, which can just stimulate Link to throw things and explode on the enemy's body to produce a critical hit. With the Ice Maker, Link is equivalent to having an unlimited disposable weapon that can hit critically. This can greatly enhance Link's strength. And the Ice Maker can also make shields. Link is also equivalent to having unlimited disposable shields. Anyway, Link's perfect shield counter will not damage the durability of the weapon. If possible, take a shield made of paper, and it can still reflect bullets. Link threw a long sword towards the sky, which suddenly exploded in the air, scattering crystal ice fragments all over the sky, which looked very beautiful. Chapter 68 Hulk Mass Production Plan. No. Ivan was so angry that he tore off the head of the unmanned machine and smashed it to the ground. His mind was full of images of Iron Man and Link who was hit by a motorcycle and vomited blood. He knew that with this simple drone, he could not defeat Tony and Link at all. At this time, Hammer came in with a gang. As Ivan's manufacturing of unmanned machines reached a bottleneck, Hammer's attitude towards him gradually deteriorated, and there was more threat in his tone. Hammer walked over arrogantly and kicked away the mechanical head that rolled to his feet. He came to Ivan and said arrogantly, "I gave you trust, time, and birds. You made me this kind of garbage? Don't you know how to be grateful?" Ivan supported his knees with his hands and sat on the stool. He raised his head and rolled his eyes at Hammer with an ugly face. Hammer rubbed his chin. "I'll give you the last 2 days. If you can't make a measure that can cheer the people, I will send you back to jail, and it will be an illegal black jail that is not regulated by the state." Then he crossed his arms and looked at Ivan with a squint. "Fortunately, I didn't put all my hopes on you," Ivan said in a low voice. "Have you found a scientist stronger than me?" No. Hammer shook his fingers. "Even Stark can't beat Link. That long-haired kid must have become stronger because of the genetic mutation experiment, just like the Hulk, and I got a little treasure." Hammer snapped his fingers, and a man behind him came forward with a suitcase and opened it. There were 3 tubes of green unknown liquid inside. Ivan's pupils shrank, and he stood up. Could it be? Hammer put on white gloves slowly, picked up one of the small tubes, knocked it with his fingernails, and smiled. Hulk's blood. Ever since Hammer misunderstood Link, he has always regarded Link as the product of Tony's biological experiment. After searching everywhere, they actually found 3 tubes of Hulk's blood left by Dr. Blue. Hammer curled his lips. "I created hundreds of Hulks. Let's see how Stark and Link can defeat me." Then he looked at Ivan viciously. "As for you, my patience has been exhausted by you. Either produce a product that satisfies me, or die." As a result, Ivan stared at Hammer. "Let me participate in the Hulk's blood experiment." Hammer smiled contemptuously. "You? How could I give such a precious thing?" Ivan laughed in a low voice. "You can't control the monsters you created. Unless I install a mechanical brain for these monsters, which are completely controlled by humans. A collection of machinery and flesh and blood." Hammer's face changed, and a strange light flashed in his narrowed eyes. On the other hand, Link was still living his stable life, unaware that General Ross had a successor, and 2 lunatics were ready to inherit the great achievements of Hulk's mass production, and continue to carry it forward, and they also pointed the spearhead at him. He is now busy studying the life Durian he brought back with Zelda and Tony. Of course, it was mainly Zelda and Tony who were doing the research, and Link was just listening to their conclusions. Tony did a lot of analysis, listened to the report made by Jarvis, and looked at the life durian from left to right with a puzzled look on his face. "Well, although you call it a durian, it does look like a durian. But it is completely different from the stinky fruit on Earth. The substance inside is not protein, carbohydrates or the like, but an element that has never appeared on Earth. Therefore, the life Durian will not deteriorate, nor will it react with oxygen. If it is not damaged by external forces, it is estimated that it will remain unchanged for millions of years. Therefore, the soil on Earth cannot grow such coconut trees. Link listened eagerly, and when Tony confirmed that the life Durian could not be planted on Earth, he sighed greatly. Tony continued, I asked Jarvis to do some calculations. I'm afraid that the life Durian can only work on you and Zelda. The element in it that can increase your vitality cannot be absorbed by Earthlings. They will only escape from the body and be wasted. After that, he threw the life Durian to Link and said, keep it well, you and Zelda. It's like having an extra life. Zelda also said, Link, according to my observation, although the life Durian will not deteriorate, the vitality in it is still slowly fading. How about I make it into a life dish and you eat it? Link shook his head. Scarcity makes things valuable. Wait until the next blood moon comes, and then cook the life Durian. This way, the only Durian can be used to the greatest extent. At this time, Peppa came running. Peppa wore a small blue hero suit, a black hood, and held a wooden sword and a wooden shield, like a Yahaha version of the Brave Link. These were all made by Zelda for Peppa, because she thought it was fun. Peppa came over, climbed onto the sofa, pulled Link's sleeve, and said with sparkling eyes, my dear hero, princess, let's go play hide and seek. Link nodded, and Zelda agreed. Peppa lay on Tony's shoulder, babbling. Tony shook his head, how could I do such a thing? Peppa was immediately unhappy when he saw that Tony was unwilling to play with him, and muttered, then I'll find Steve. Huh. Tony already knew the simple words of Hillian. He frowned and looked at Peppa. How did you get to know that boring guy? Oh, I know, you are trying to provoke me with Rogers, right? Okay, hide and seek, right? Let's see where you, a little kid, can hide. Okay, me, hide and seek. The latter part was said in Hillian. Although Tony only knew a few simple words, he learned the clear and smooth Hillian court pronunciation of Link and Zelda very well. Yeah. Peppa cheered when he saw that his clever trick worked. Tony's house, of course he lost to Link after he got drunk that time, is next to the sea and has a forest on the land. It is very beautiful. Tony drove Zelda, Link and Peppa to the woods. Peppa shouted, blindfold your eyes. Don't peek. Then he suddenly flew away and hid under a fallen leaf. 30 seconds later, he opened his eyes. Zelda, Link and Tony went to look for him separately. Tony wanted to catch Peppa by himself, so he ran around turning over stones. He has always been strong-willed, even when playing hide and seek. Zelda and Link wandered around in the woods, looking at the surrounding scenery everywhere, and their attitudes were not as serious as Tony's. Tony chuckled and pressed the mirror of his watch. Jarvis' voice came from the watch. Okay, sir. Searching for living creatures nearby. Searching. There are reactions from larger creatures ahead. So Tony walked over and ran into a woman with strange clothes. If Link and Zelda were there, they would be surprised. The woman was wearing clothes that were the style of Hyrule. Please vote and collect. There is one more chapter before 12 o'clock. Chapter 69. Team Yage shows up. Zelda and Link were strolling around when they suddenly heard a gurgling sound under their feet. Link looked down and found a pile of yellow leaves under his feet. He smiled at Zelda, and Link waved his sleeves vigorously, creating a strong wind that blew away the leaves, like pulling out a rabbit, and pulled out Peppa hiding in the ground. Peppa was not sad to be found. The goal of hide and seek is not to deceive the seeker, but to enjoy the fun of being found. Peppa shook off the dirt on his body, spread his limbs, and shouted, "Ahaha! You found me." At this time, Tony came over with a very bright smile on his face, waved his hand and shouted, "Hello everyone. I'm going far." Link looked at Tony approaching and felt something was wrong. Peppa also felt that something was wrong. Tony seemed to be different from usual, which made Peppa a little scared. Tony didn't even look at Link. He faced Zelda and said with a smile, "Beautiful girl, how about I take you for a ride? The weather is so nice, it's suitable for a trip to the beach." Then he put his hand on Zelda's shoulder. Zelda retreated, and Link stepped forward and grabbed Tony's hand. Link looked coldly at the smiling Tony. Tony looked at Link with a strange smile. "Link, why are you staring at me like that?" Although Tony is a playboy, he has never flirted with women since he made his relationship with Pepper Potts clear. Although he has a quirky and indifferent personality, he actually knows his limits. No matter how he satirizes the US government, he never crosses the line. He responds smoothly and has always maintained a good cooperative relationship with the US military. He usually takes good care of Zelda and knows how to keep a distance. The real Tony would never do those actions just now. Link said coldly, "Who are you?" Tony's face changed. "What's going on?" "I have studied Stark's personality carefully." Link's hand was empty. The Tony in front of her exploded into a red spell and disappeared. A strange figure with a thin body, tight clothes and an inverted eye totem appeared in the distance in front of her. Zelda exclaimed, "Team Yagay." Team Yagay is a group of ninjas who voluntarily pledged allegiance to the Demon King Ganon. They never did good things in their lives, but love killing people and eating bananas. They are elusive, good at pretending to be others, and have superb sword and bow skills. They can also teleport. When Zelda was wandering in Gerudo, she was ambushed by Team Yagay several times. If it weren't for the protection of Link and the Gerudo Queen Urzapo, she would have died 100 years ago. The ninja of Team Yagay said angrily, "I acted strictly according to the template of Playboy. Why did you see through it?" "Because you only know the Tony Stark on the internet." Link did not answer. The ninjas in Team Yagay were all very strong. When he sneaked into Team Yagay's base to steal the Thunder Beast crown, he was almost besieged to death. In the end, he used assassination techniques to defeat them one by one and succeeded. An ice sword appeared in Link's hand and he threw it. The ninja of Team Yagay disappeared with a bang. The ice sword pierced through the smoke and hit the tree trunk. Then, the talisman condensed, and the ninja of Team Yagay already held a scimitar and fell from the sky, slashing at Zelda. Zelda was pale. At this moment, she did not bring the bird with her, and she had no fighting power. Pepper jumped onto Zelda's shoulder, holding a small wooden sword, intending to block this attack for Zelda. At this time, Link turned around, jumped up, and aimed at the air with a shield counter. The ninja of Team Yagay was bounced into the sky. Link's ice shield broke, and 2 ice javelins appeared in his hands, and were thrown quickly. But at this moment, the Yagay ninja made a seal again, and with a bang, a puff of smoke disappeared. Link was on guard. Suddenly, a shadow clone of the Yagay ninja appeared in the east, west, south, and north, standing like a bamboo pole, with arms clasped together and making seals. Attacked at the same time. Looking left and right, he couldn't find who was the real one, and saw the 4 of them slashing at him with machetes. Link suddenly knelt on one knee and pressed his hands on the ground. The cold air overflowed, and a smooth ice surface formed on the ground in an instant. Die. Ugh. Pa. The 3 shadow clones ignored the influence of the ice surface, rushed over, hit Link and Zelda's body and disappeared. The remaining real one fell face down on the ground. Link jumped, and a shield appeared under his feet. He quickly moved over and grabbed the throat of the Yagay ninja, saying coldly, "Did you capture Tony?" The Yagay ninja sneered, "Do you think I will tell you? I have dedicated my life to the great Lord Ganon." Zelda said, "I'll give you 100 bananas. Tell me what you know." The Yagay team said, Okay. Tony has been captured by us and imprisoned in the base. The base is in New York. There are 2 purposes. One is to threaten you, and the other is to obtain the technological information from Tony to help us create countless science suits so as to revive the great cause. Haha. Link shouted, "New York again." Zelda said, "Let's contact Pepper quickly and ask her to maintain order in the Stark group and keep the fact that Tony was arrested a secret. Then we'll contact SHIELD and ask them to help us find the base of the Yagay team." Link nodded and pulled Zelda back to the car. Link didn't know how to drive a modern car, so Zelda stepped on the accelerator and drove off. Pepper started crying. "Woo." The Yagay team Carter said viciously, "Boy, you'd better give me a trial. Obey us and become Lord Ganon's running dog." "Oh no, obey. You will gain supreme power. I'll give you one last chance. Hand over your knowledge. Help our Yagay team to make the Iron Man suit, otherwise Tony snorted. "Otherwise? What's wrong?" The Yagay team said in a gloomy tone, "You will be subjected to unimaginable torture. You will live a life worse than death." "Tony, let me hear your torture." The Yagay team grinned. "That is I will eat bananas in front of you and not share them with you. Tony, huh? Please collect, recommend, and banana. Chapter 70 Saving Tony. Master Kage. The cadres of the Yage team ran to the lounge, where there was a banana-shaped yellow air mattress originally for children. The leader of the Yage team, Master Kage, was rolling around on the bed. Hearing his subordinates running over, he jumped up, put on a majestic look, and said in a deep voice, "What's the matter?" The cadre of the Yage team was scared out of his wits. That Tony Stark is a tough guy. I said I would eat bananas in front of him, but he was not afraid at all. Lord Kage took a breath and said solemnly, "This guy is so scary." Then he hurriedly shook his head, reacted, and scolded the cadre of the Yage team. "Are you a pig? Stark is not from the Guy team, and he doesn't like to eat bananas as much as we do." The cadre of the Yage team looked very confused. "I can't understand it. There are actually people in the world who are indifferent to such delicious bananas. What's wrong with this world?" Lord Kage coughed and said majestically, "I can understand your confusion. But now is not the time to talk about this. If you dig out Stark's eyeballs, he will listen to you." The cadre of the Yage team was full of admiration. Lord Kage is wise. So he ran away to continue threatening Tony. Tony looked coldly at the Yage team leader, who ran over with a grin. The Yage team leader said, "You strange human who doesn't like to eat bananas. I'm going to dig out your eyes." Tony shrugged. "Okay. Since you finally thought of a suitable way to punish, then I promise to help your Yage team make the iron suit." Tony surrendered very straightforwardly. He pretended to agree to the Yage team first, and then waited until the suit was made, and then put on the suit to fight. He had played this routine once, so there was no need to resist the torture of the Yage team. "Oh, you admit defeat." As a result, the Yage team leader was a little entangled, scratching his head stupidly. "Then tell me, should I dig out your eyes or not?" Tony, Link and Zelda came to New York again and met Hawkeye and Captain America as soon as they got off the plane. Hawkeye said sternly, "Natasha has gone on another mission. This time I will assist you, and Rogers." Pepper made a yeah gesture to Rogers, and Rogers nodded with a smile. Zelda briefly told Hawkeye and Captain America what had happened. Hawkeye folded his hands and pinched his chin. Team Yage? The intelligent life on Hyrule continent is hidden in New York. But according to the current information of S.H.I.E.L.D., no ninja organization has been found in New York. Captain America raised his beautiful brown gold eyebrows. "Ninja? Kamikaze Special Attack Force." Zelda was very anxious. "New York is so big, where should we find Tony?" As a result, Link touched Zelda's shoulder and pointed at the large billboard hanging high on the roadside with a strange expression. "Banana Technology Company, worthy of global trust." In a large area of yellow, there were 3 yellow smartphones. Zelda said, "Are you doubting that this Banana Technology Company is actually a disguise of the Yage team?" Hawkeye said, "The Banana Company has been established in New York for nearly half a century, and the boss is also a world-renowned business leader. It is not a strange company that suddenly appeared." Zelda looked at the billboard. The Yage team's disguise skills are very strong. Maybe the Banana Company has been taken over by the Yage team. "Stark, I have arranged an assistant for you. You have 3 days to make a suit of war clothes." The Yage team cadres pushed Tony into a secret room and slammed the door shut. "Stark," a slightly sharp voice came. Tony rubbed his wrists full of red marks of binding. There was no need to guess. The person who spoke must be the assistant assigned to him by the Yage team. When Tony thought of the assistant, he thought of Ethan, who had been through thick and thin with him. That guy moved to New Mexico and was leisurely fiddling with his farm, and he was kidnapped by someone else. As a world-famous figure, Tony was not surprised at all that others would call out his name. But the voice sounded familiar, and when he looked up, he saw an acquaintance and was stunned. He, the CEO of Banana Company, was half bald, had a hooked nose, delicate round eyes, and wore a signature black top and jeans. He sat cross-legged on a chair, looking unhappy. He was the most famous entrepreneur in the world before Tony announced, "I'm Iron Man." He was famous for the banana smartphone. Tony was stunned. "Are you the assistant assigned to me by Team Iga?" He and him had a bad relationship because him had publicly ridiculed Iron Man's gold and red color scheme as being too outdated. He pursed his lips. Those guys called Team Iga arrested me and other senior officials of Banana Company. However, they pretended to be me and occupied my company. How come your Stark group was also seized by Team Iga? Tony was speechless and put his hands on his hips. Okay, my assistant. Let's get to work. Hawkeye drove Link and others to the front of the Banana Company building. Seeing 6 security guards standing upright like statues in front of the building, Hawkeye said, "There is indeed something wrong with this company." Link gave an order to Pepper, who quietly brought a banana, touched over, hid in the lawn, and threw it towards the door. Many security guards were standing in front of the building seriously, but suddenly they sniffed and saw a banana flying down from the sky. Suddenly, everyone opened their eyes wide and was overjoyed. "Banana, don't mess around. It's mine." "What do you mean yours? It fell from the sky. It must be a gift from Lord Ganon." "Mine. You dare to steal? You're asking for a beating. I saw it first." Why is this happening?" The 6 security guards started arguing. Zelda said, "People from Team Yagay." Hawkeye cursed, "6 lunatics. Let's pretend to be people from the magazine and go in for an interview." Zelda shook her head. "No. They remember Link and I look like." Roger said, "Then it'll just be Barton and I going in to find Tony's whereabouts." Link said in a deep voice, "Team Yagay is too strong. You are not familiar with Team Yagay's fighting style. It will be dangerous." Although all the people from Team Yagay look funny and silly, their martial arts are actually extremely powerful. When protecting Zelda, Link fought with the people from Team Yagay more than a dozen times. Even someone as strong as Link 100 years ago suffered a lot of injuries. Zelda suddenly thought of a way. "Oh, Link can disguise himself and get in." Hawkeye said, "Link's long ears are too eye-catching, and it's not easy to hide." Zelda smiled, thinking of the scene when Link came to Gerudo Town and imitated a Zabo to snap his fingers, and said to Link seriously, "You can dress up as a woman so that you can let your hair down to cover your ears." Link's face froze. The first day of the 6th channel recommendation. Please vote and collect. There is one more chapter before 12 o'clock. Chapter 71, Women's Link. After eating and drinking, the leader of the Yagay team, Mr. Koge, began his daily work, practicing his acting skills. The role played by Mr. Koge is Hime, the CEO of the Banana Company. Mr. Koge's face changed, and he looked like Hime. He looked at the mirror and began to imitate Hime's speech. "Today, we will redefine bananas. Oh, not mobile phones." Just as Mr. Koge was giving a coquettish speech alone, Tony, who was hiding in the secret room, wanted to pin the real Hime to the ground and beat him up. Unlike the 3 assistants Tony had experienced before, Ethan, Jarvis, and Zelda, Hime's personality is as tough as Tony's. The two worked together to make the suits, and they often disagreed. Hime taunted, "Your operating system has no aesthetics at all. Tony, it's time. You optimize the hell's graphical interface." "Hime, your wiring makes my scalp numb. The worst employees in my company do better than you." "Tony." "Hime, that's enough. Stop grinding your shoulders. Do something real, okay?" Hime looked at Tony coldly. "People like you will never make the ultimate product." Tony. Without saying much, he took a welding gun and forced Hime to sit on the chair. Then he simply made the suit by himself. Just when Tony was furious with his assistant and mean product manager, the 6 ninja security guards who were beaten up because of bananas continued to stand at their posts after calming down, standing with their hands behind their backs. They looked more like gangsters than security guards. It was just that the bruises on their faces destroyed their solemn personalities. At this time, a car stopped in front of them. A stern-looking man in formal clothes came with a petite and cute blonde girl. The blonde girl's soft long hair was draped over her shoulders, making her face look very small and delicate. Her cheeks were slightly red, revealing a kind of cuteness that made people feel itchy. Her eyebrows were carefully trimmed, and her eyeliner outlined her eyes as soft and tender as water. Her expression was very charming. She was wearing a formal business suit, revealing her fair and slender calves under her skirt. She walked in small steps with a little nervousness on her small stilettos. Judging from her temperament, she seemed to be a young intern who had just graduated. These two people were Link and Hawkeye. Link felt his thighs were cold, and his high heels always sprained his ankles, and he felt uncomfortable everywhere. Until now, he was still dissatisfied, and complained in a low voice, "Why? Why do you have to make me wear women's clothes? Even men have hairstyles with long hair covering their ears." For some reason, Hawkeye spoke softer than before when talking to Link in women's clothes. Hawkeye smiled and said, "There is that hairstyle, but have you ever seen a male reporter from a magazine with that look? And I have to say, although your face is not disguised, but wearing this woman's clothes. If you hadn't come out with your own eyes, I almost didn't recognize you. I thought you were really a pretty girl." Hawkeye even blushed a little. When Link shyly walked out of the locker room, Hawkeye's heart fluttered, and the dolphin in his heart suddenly jumped out of the water, disrupting the calm mentality of this iron-blooded agent. Link recalled the eyes of everyone when he came out wearing women's clothes. He was so shy that he had the urge to rush out and ride a motorcycle back to Hyrule. Zelda was well prepared. She rushed up with the camera Tony bought for her and started taking photos. Pepper flew in the air and fell to the ground. Rogers was stunned for a long time, as if he had seen a new world. He gave Link a thumbs up. As for Hawkeye, his eyes were wide open and even glowed green. Now Zelda stayed in the car. Rogers was too famous to be sure that the security guards of the Yagay team would be suspicious. So Link asked Rogers to stay and protect Zelda. Although Rogers had a similar personality to Link and was a very reliable person, Link was still worried. Link, who was always quiet, told Zelda to be careful, and then he and Hawkeye, who was good at investigation and disguise, walked towards the banana building. Pepper was hidden in Link's briefcase. He was crushed by Link. The Yagay security guard blocked Hawkeye. Hawkeye smiled, handed over his business card, and said, "We are a reporter from Excellent Technology magazine, and we are here to interview Mr. Heem." The Yagay security guard searched Hawkeye very cautiously. Hawkeye stretched out his arms and smiled. "When did you banana company treat visitors like this?" The Yagay team looked at Hawkeye coldly. Then they were ready to search Link's body. Link nervously stepped back on his high heels and asked timidly, "Are you going to search me too? HMM. Oh, so cute." The Yagay security guards became agitated and looked at Link with fiery attention. The pitiful posture of the blonde girl would make any hard-hearted person feel pity. The Yagay team searched the man with a flattering tone and said softly, "Little girl, our rules." Then behind him, 10 murderous eyes poked at him. "You want to take advantage of the little girl, right?" So the person who searched the Yagay team changed his tone and said with a smile, "Come in, come in." Link's tense body relaxed. The Yagay team really didn't recognize him as their mortal enemy. Is the disguise of women's clothing so strong? Exclamation mark. To be honest, Link didn't want to be discovered by the Yagay team in this scene, wearing women's clothing, fighting in public. What kind of inhuman torture is this? What did I, Link, do wrong to receive such a punishment? Hawkeye also breathed a sigh of relief. Worried that Link would be nervous, he stretched out his hand and wanted to pull Link in, with the meaning of protecting him. But Link dodged Hawkeye's hand. "You, a guy with thick eyebrows and small eyes, want to take advantage of the opportunity?" As a result, Link didn't step firmly, stumbled, and the briefcase in his hand fell to the ground. It had been crushed by Link, and Pepper, who was hiding in the briefcase, had a belly. Link's briefcase bulged. Link was startled and hurriedly picked it up. Team Yagay became alert and asked hurriedly, "What's inside?" Hawkeye's eyes were stern, and he was ready for battle. However, at this time, Link shyly said, "Inside is the banana night doll that I have loved since I was a child. Can't I bring this in? Do you want to check it?" Link blinked, his thick eyelashes flickered, and his eyes seemed to be a mirror lake with ripples. This kind of charming posture holding a briefcase made everyone's heart hit. Team Yagay was immediately attracted by Link's charming expression, and said with a dull expression, "It's okay, it's okay." Team Yagay was not the only one who was stunned. Hawkeye was also shocked. "Link, you kid, how can you dress up so skillfully? You must have dressed up as a woman more than once, right?" Exclamation mark. Then Link smiled shyly, turned around gracefully, and took Hawkeye's arm in turn, and walked into the hall. It seems that for Link's women's clothing, give him a vote. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 72 Banana Torture version 2.0. Link entered the banana building, and his expression suddenly became gloomy. What he did just now in a hurry made Link feel so uncomfortable that he wanted to die. He wanted to kill everyone who saw him like this, including Hawkeye. Hawkeye had been trying to hold back his laughter. Since Link changed into women's clothes, his temper has become much worse. He whispered sternly, "What are you laughing at?" Hawkeye held back. "Okay. I apologize. It's really hard for you." After all, Link was dressed as a woman, so he had to be more tolerant of him. Besides, Link's current coquettish posture would not make others angry, no matter how much they glared at him. Link walked into the men's room with his high heels clacking on the ground. He took out Peppa from his briefcase and said, "Go and find out the news." He gathered his hair to reveal the earphones in his long ears, and then gave the same earphones to Peppa. "Remember to notify me when you get the news." Peppa saluted seriously, probably learned from Roddy, and shouted, "Yes, Princess." Link was furious. He planned to ask Zelda to make a bunch of women's clothes for Peppa to wear all day long. After all, Peppa has cosplayed Link and Iron Man, so it's time to expand his business. Link hurriedly fixed his hair in front of the mirror and rushed out the door. At this time, a banana company employee happened to walk into the corridor and looked at the beautiful blonde girl in horror as she walked out of the men's room. Link hurriedly looked very flustered, whispering, "What am I doing? How did I get in here?" Then he covered his face, brushed the male employee's shoulder, and ran out. The male employee's nose moved, smelled the fragrance between Link's hair, and his body was shocked. "Is this the feeling of love?" Exclamation mark. Turning around, he found that the beautiful blonde girl had run out, and he was lost in thought. Link came to Hawkeye, and Hawkeye whispered, "The Yagay team is not large, and it is impossible to replace all the employees in the entire building. And the place where Tony is located must have a large number of Yagay teams. Let's try to go inside the building." Link is very familiar with the disguise of the Yagay team, and Hawkeye is also one of the top agents in the world with strong criminal investigation ability. The two searched everywhere on the other side. Tony's ability to act is particularly amazing. In half a day, most of the drivers from the shell to the internal system have been completed. A simple Iron Man was born, and only the final assembly work was left. He wiped his sweat and looked back at what Heem was doing. Heem was busy writing or drawing something. Tony went forward curiously to check it out. Before Tony could go forward, Heem seemed to notice that Tony had stopped working, so he handed the sketch in his hand to Tony. "You should thank me. I customized the shape of Iron Man for you." Tony was a little interested. You know, Heem is a top designer. Maybe he can really customize a shape that is much better than Iron Man. Tony wanted to make a suit for Link, but Link declined because the suit was too clumsy. He picked up the drawing and looked at it carefully. What the hell? Heem just drew a melon seed like shuttle shape. Nothing else. It also said New Generation Iron Man shape very coolly on it. Heem also proudly said, "Straight lines belong to humans, and curves belong to God." A human-shaped armor flying in the sky is really stupid, just like the poor fantasy of ancient people. Look at my design, which boldly abandons the human form and takes the perfect streamline as the design tone. This is the new armor shape of the next era. Tony. Link, I can't stay with this idiot anymore. I know you are on the way to save me. Please find me quickly. Just when Tony was helplessly wailing in his heart, Link and Hawkeye had already turned around and found a place where there were a large number of undisguised Yagay team members who were partying, playing music, eating bananas, and drinking banana milk. Bananas are obviously healthy fruits, but the Yagay team ate them and looked like they were drunk. Hawkeye was stunned and couldn't believe it. Is this the way the Yagay team entertains themselves? Link nodded. They lay on the crack of the door to observe, and suddenly a member of the Yagay team came silently around the corner. The Yagay team was good at hiding ninjutsu, so they were very good at concealing their footsteps. Link and Hawkeye were distracted by the noise inside the door, so they were not discovered at the first time. The Yagay team shouted, "You!" Link and Hawkeye reacted very quickly. Link took out a bow from the weapon space and handed it to Hawkeye, who put an arrow on it and shot it. Link rushed forward. The Yagay team stopped talking and took out a scimitar to block and cut off the arrow. Link should be wearing high heels, rushing over quickly, twisting his feet, and falling to the ground. Looking at the Yagay team, as long as they shouted, Hawkeye and Link would be surrounded by hundreds of highly skilled Yagay team members. Link's eyes and hands were quick, and his left hand condensed cold air. An apple-sized ice cube appeared in his palm and hit the Yagay team's throat directly. With his right hand pointing downward, Link released the cold air. There was a thin layer of ice on the ground, making it slippery. He sat on the ice and flew over. He kicked Yagay and pressed him to the ground. Yagay watched a petite and cute blonde girl pounce on him, her hair hanging down and touching the tip of Yagay's nose. Under the intense exercise, Link's chest rose and fell slightly, and his face flushed, as tempting as a cherry tomato after rain. This made Yagay's eyes burst into hearts, and he couldn't help but say, "What a cute girl." Link's face darkened, and he pinched his throat with his hand, lifted Yagay, pushed him to the corner, and shouted, "Where is Tony Stark?" Yagay wanted to shout loudly, but Link pinched his fingers and his voice was immediately hoarse. So he stubbornly closed his mouth and refused to speak. Hawkeye slid over cautiously on the ice, holding a plate of bananas in his hand, and said, "Link, use this to interrogate Team Yagay." When Team Yagay saw the bananas, his eyes widened, as if he had seen Link in women's clothing. He said in a hoarse voice, "You are despicable. You want to torture me by eating bananas in front of me. I tell you, I won't confess." "Wait. Link. You are Link." Team Yagay finally recognized Link's appearance from his deliberately softened eye contours and carefully trimmed eyebrows. Seeing Link in women's clothing and still asking people to act, he immediately felt that the world was collapsing. Link had a cold face, pulled a banana, and threw it on the ground. Team Yagay took a breath of cold air. "You are wasting treasures." Under the bloodshot eyes of Team Yagay, Link sneered and stepped on the banana with his heel, breaking it into 2 pieces. "Oh oh oh oh." Team Yagay cried out in pain. "You are so cruel. How could you do this? Look at what you did. Are you a devil? I confess. I confess. Isn't that enough? Please vote. Please collect. Welcome to join the book friends group 783,563,733 to urge for more. Let me tell you a little secret. The group is full of girls and I'm the only boy. Can you believe it? Chapter 73 Infiltration. Under the torture of bananas, the Yagay immediately revealed Tony's location, room 403, 13th floor, R&D area. As soon as he finished speaking, Link crushed him to death, which surprised Hawkeye, because Link didn't look like a decisive killer. Could it be that he had awakened some extraordinary qualities after dressing as a woman? When he was about to go to the place where Tony was captured, the door to the hall opened, and 3 strong Yagay warriors walked out with their arms around each other, looking drunk, but Link knew that there was no such thing as alcohol in Hyrule. Maybe they were drunk from eating bananas. The 3 Yagay warriors just happened to see Link crushing his companion to death. He was about to call for an early warning from his companions, but Link was prepared. This was a skill he had learned when he sneaked into the Yagay base. First, he threw a handful of bananas into the air, and the Yagay warriors who loved bananas unconsciously looked up. Link slid out on the ice, took out 3 ice cubes, and smashed them at the samurai's throat. With his hands that could pull steel bars into threads, Link pressed 2 of the samurai and injected cold air into their mouths. Even if he couldn't hurt anyone, he would make the samurai uncomfortable and unable to speak for a long time. The 3 samurai reacted very quickly. The 2 samurai who inhaled the cold air instantly activated their ninjutsu. In a blink of an eye, they exploded into a ball of red spells and appeared behind them. Hawkeye immediately shot 2 arrows, and the samurai blocked them with his sword. Crack. With 2 strikes, the arrows broke into 2 pieces, but white smoke came out of the arrowheads, instantly knocking the samurai unconscious. The 3rd samurai drew his sword and stabbed Link. Link turned his toes, twisted his waist, and passed by the blade. He rushed forward, His long hair shook, revealing a pair of pointed ears, and rushed over with a whoosh, bringing a fragrant breeze. Pop. Link came up to him and slapped the samurai on the chin with his backhand. The force of the impact directly dislocated the jaw of the Yage warrior. The warrior tilted his head back and slashed from bottom to top. Link was wearing high heels and moved violently, which made him lose his balance. A thin cut was made on his face by the Yage team. In an instant, a red line of blood slid to the corner of Link's lips. Then, the warrior swung his knife again and cut off the arrow shot by Hawkeye. Half of the arrow fell down and was caught by Link. He pressed the ground hard and turned to rush behind the warrior. The arrow pierced the back of his head. The warrior groaned and fell to the ground, turning into a black eye. Hawkeye came up and saw Link hopping on one foot with a painful look on his face. He stepped forward and asked, "Did you sprain your foot?" Link frowned and whispered, "Yes." "Why are you looking at me like that?" Link, who was dressed as a woman, was very sensitive to other people's eyes. Hawkeye coughed and said, "What's wrong with your voice? Why do you sound like a girl?" Link was speechless. He couldn't tell Hawkeye that his tone was just like that. He just kept it down on purpose. This was one of the reasons why he didn't like to talk. Hawkeye stepped forward to finish off the two unconscious warriors. Just as Link was wiping the blood and knife marks on his face with a handkerchief, Hawkeye suddenly rushed towards Link, hugged him and rushed into another corridor. Link felt a warm hand behind his head to prevent his head from hitting the ground. Before Link could misunderstand anything, he heard the door of the hall open and heard a doubtful voice. "What a strong smell of drugs." Another said in Hylian, "That guy must have accidentally spilled the drugs." "No, I'll go and see." The doubtful Yage team was very alert. He saw the dense water droplets on the ground, caused by Link's thin ice melting. Link's ears moved and felt the light footsteps of the doubtful Yage team. He immediately broke away from Hawkeye and squatted by the wall, waiting for an opportunity to assassinate. The Yage team was proficient in assassination and brought disaster to Hyrule. But in the field of assassination, the strongest is not them, but Link, who is their enemy. Hawkeye stood up and looked at Link squatting in the corner. Suddenly, he was still and motionless. Hawkeye even thought that Link had turned into an invisible shadow. Link's breathing was weak and his body was still. Even the pulse in his body and the heat emitted from the surface of his skin were all restrained, as if he was hibernating. He had already restrained his breath almost perfectly, but when he heard the man coming over said, "What is this fragrance?" Link's face turned pale. He forgot that he sprayed perfume on his body. Even if he restrained his breath like a dead person, he couldn't restrain his fragrance, right? The perfume on his body was carefully selected by Zelda. It was not strong and bright, and it was almost invisible. But for the ninjas with a keen sense of smell, it was still easy to detect. Just as the puzzled Yage team was approaching, suddenly, cheers came from the hall, as if seeing Captain America perform on stage. Link could even hear a clear shout, "Big banana cake." Oh. The doubtful Yage team was immediately stunned when they heard Big Banana Cake, and they forgot their vigilance. Oh. They ran back to the hall and shouted, "You bastards, save some for me." Link and Hawkeye breathed a sigh of relief and hurried to the place where Tony was imprisoned. When they passed by the place with cameras, Link used cold air to form guests to cover the camera and walked smoothly all the way. When they came to the R&D area, Link and Hawkeye walked up the stairs and saw two shadows. At the entrance of the 13th floor, there were two Yage team ninjas guarding. Hawkeye threw 3 bananas very familiarly. Then the originally cool Yage team ninja returned to his silly appearance and shouted, "Oh, there are bananas there." Then he jumped and ran down happily. Why did Hawkeye throw 3 bananas? The reason is, soon, the two ninjas had a dispute over the ownership of the 3 bananas. Ninja A, how about we take the 3rd banana and split it in half? But Ninja B was not happy. He had his own aesthetic philosophy for bananas. He said angrily, "The banana has such a perfect curve, and you actually want to break it in half. It's a waste of food. I hate people like you who don't know how to taste bananas the most." Then the two of them started arguing. Since they were ninjas, they were not as good at talking as they were at talking with knives. They were ready to fight and see who was better. Hawkeye would never allow them to fight and cause trouble to attract the attention of other ninjas. He immediately drew his bow and shot 2 arrows. With a swish, The Nazi Ninja B was shot and killed, while Ninja A luckily snatched the sharpshooter's arrow. Hawkeye was shocked. Someone could actually dodge his arrow? He was about to shoot another arrow, but Ninja A had already discovered Hawkeye and Link, and made a hand seal. Bang! It exploded into a ball of red talismans. Hawkeye thought it was not good. He didn't know where Ninja A had teleported to, but when the smoke and the spell dissipated, Ninja A did not teleport away, but fell to the ground with an arrow stuck in the back of his head. Hawkeye was extremely surprised and looked at Link. Link raised his index finger, and a faint space distortion line connected to the arrow behind Ninja A's neck. Just as Hawkeye shot an arrow in the air, Link acted decisively and used the magnetic grabber to control the arrow that shot in the air, turned it around, and stabbed it into the back of Ninja A's neck. Please vote. Please collect. Because of the word limit for the author's message, it is really not enough to write a thank you message for the recommendation vote, and it also takes a lot of time, so I would like to say sorry here, and thank you all for your enthusiasm. Thank you to the book friend Lily Shooping for your 3400 starting coins. She is also welcome to become the first helmsman of this book. Thank you to the book friend Minecrafter for your 300 starting coins. Thank you to the book friends in IU Shadow for your 1000 starting coins. Thank you to the book friend Kainu Mayo for your 100 starting coins. Thanks to the book friend EGUI for his 1000 Kidian coins reward support. Thanks to the book friend 160,507,426,766 for his 100 Kidian coins reward support. Chapter 74 Backstab. After dealing with the two Yagay ninjas in the building, Link and Hawkeye tiptoed upstairs. Link sneaked, and even though he was wearing high heels, he didn't make any sound. He took out the Macute mirror in his arms, quickly looked left and right twice, and then put it back like lightning. Link's face immediately turned bitter. There were at least 10 Yagay warriors guarding Tona's secret room. At this time, Peppa's voice suddenly came from the headset. Master Brave. Master Brave. I'm following Master Koge. Master Koge went to Tona's secret room. Link whispered to Hawkeye about the matter, and Hawkeye's face sank. He heard from Link that Master Koge was the leader of the Yagay team, the strongest ninja, and even had the skill of being immune to attacks. He was incredibly strong. Now there were 10 Yagay warriors, and he didn't know how to deal with them. When Master Koge came, what if he came to kill Tony? However, Hawkeye saw that Link became calmer and more composed after hearing that Lord Kage was coming, so he mouthed, "Do you have a plan?" Link nodded. Hawkeye was delighted, as expected of Link. He has so many ideas. He hurriedly asked, "What plan?" Link, "No more sneaking. Just go up and fight. The battle will be over in 3 seconds. Hawkeye, huh? After Link dressed up as a woman, his temper was indeed much worse. He rolled up his sleeves and planned to fight this group of highly skilled warriors head on. Hawkeye held him tightly and whispered, "What are you doing impulsively at this time?" Link also complained in a low voice, "Where are you catching?" When the two of them were arguing, they made some noise, which attracted the attention of the Yagay team, and 2 warriors walked over here. Link scolded Hawkeye, "Look, the enemy has noticed us, and there is no chance to attack suddenly." At this time, a muffled groan suddenly came from Tona's secret room, and he shouted, "Someone is hitting. Tony is hitting someone. Come and save me." It immediately attracted the attention of the Yagay team, and they went forward to check. One of the warriors went in, and suddenly there was a pain in the back of his head. Bang, he was punched. Then he hit him hard in the face with a stick. It turned out that it was Tony and him. It was planned. Tony was wearing a simple version of the battle suit, without ammunition, and energy is also the minimum, unable to support laser attacks. Hiding behind the door, he punched the back of the warrior's head. Tony was about to say that he was happy to cooperate. Him's face changed. Their plan was fine, but the power was too weak because the warrior was not unconscious. He rubbed the back of his head and felt a little painful. Tony's arm strength in the simple battle suit was not enough to knock the warrior unconscious. The warrior turned to look at Tony and said sternly, "Are you attacking me?" Tony said calmly, "I want to test the mobility of this suit. Now I want to test its escapability." He kicked out with an angry tone. The position is extremely vicious. No matter how stubborn you are, you can't be invulnerable between your legs, right? The warrior let out a strange cry, boo, covered his crotch, and fell to the ground trembling. At this moment, another warrior happened to see it and shouted, "These two guys are trying to escape from prison." 9 warriors immediately surrounded them. Link and Hawkeye looked at each other and said, "Good opportunity." Link was in front, holding a long sword, and Hawkeye was behind, with his bowstring ready. The secret room was in chaos. Link walked calmly behind the 2 warriors, turned around and slashed, and knocked them down. In fact, the warrior noticed the movement, and just turned back. Hawkeye shot an arrow, to explode the automatic fire extinguisher on the ceiling above Link's head, and it started to spray water. Link activated the ice maker, and the water vapor instantly turned into thick fog, so thick that you couldn't see your hand in front of you. He took off his high heels, threw one in each hand, and hit the faces of the 2 samurai who turned their heads. Link immediately drew out the guard's great sword again, spun, and swept across. He spun 4 times in 1 second, and chopped 4 times. The 3 samurai were immediately out of breath. Link panted and felt a little weak. He saw a samurai stabbing with a samurai sword. Hawkeye shot an arrow, and the force made the samurai sword slip out of his hand. Link snatched the samurai sword in the air, and danced wildly with one hand holding the sword and the other holding the great sword, killing the samurai instantly. But Link had no idea of being happy. The previous attacks were all unexpected backstabs. Now he was exposed to the enemy and his advantage was gone. One-on-one, Link was confident that he could kill the samurai without getting hurt. Even if he was facing 3 warriors with wrist strength comparable to Link, Link was confident that he could deal with them. However, once the Yage warriors gave a signal, the Yage people who were eating bananas and living a life of drunkenness in the hall would immediately turn into terrible fighting machines, and Link would have no hope of escaping. The Yage warriors let out a strange cry, "There are enemies." The sound waves had strong penetrating power. The Yage people who were cheering for the giant banana cake in the hall suddenly became quiet, picked up the warriors, and turned into shadows and shuffled in. Link knew that the real trouble was coming. He gritted his teeth, rushed into the secret room, and slashed with a big sword in his hand. It was not about killing people, but about forcing the 4 warriors to retreat. "Tony!" Link shouted. Tony and a bald man were tied up, and tied to a chair. He said, "Oh my," and said to Tony, "You are stark indeed. A beauty came to save you." Tony looked at the blonde girl with messy hair in shock. Although the sharpness between her eyebrows was softened by makeup, when the blonde girl opened her mouth, Tony recognized that it was his best friend Link. He wondered, "This beauty seems a bit fierce. Ugh, she wants to kill us." Link slashed with a sword, facing him and Tony. He shouted, "This beauty, there is a reason for the wrong. If you want to kill Tony, don't involve him." With a rustling sound, Heem felt his body loosen, and then he was dragged out of the chair by a huge force. It turned out that Link didn't want to cut them, but used his greatsword to cut the chains that bound them in a millimeter. Link threw the 2 out of the door at once. 4 warriors rushed towards him. Link jumped away from 3 attacks lightly, then took out the guard shield, and countered with a shield. Tap. The warrior flew backwards, and knocked over the other 3. At this time, Link was barefoot, and it was much easier for him to move. He turned around and ran out. Tony rubbed his head and stood up. At this time, he also figured out why Link was wearing women's clothes. For Link's sacrifice, Tony was immediately moved and couldn't help but burst into tears. "Link, I don't know how to thank you." Link didn't have time to say that he was fine. Tony raised a thumb. "You are so dressed up." Link was furious and planned to use the big sword to gesture in front of Tony. At this time, a ninja suddenly jumped out of the ground. He was fat, funny looking, and holding a half banana in his hand. But Link restrained his anger and was ready. "This is the strongest ninja of the Yage team, Mr. Kage. The last name is Kage, the first name is Mr. Thank you for your support. Please vote and collect." Thank you to the book friend Lily Shooping for your support of 100 starting coins. Thank you to the book friend Wooksandy Fantasy Township for your support of 100 starting coins. Chapter 75. Mass Jumping. The door was slammed open, and 4 Yage warriors rushed out, surrounding Link and the others. because Link's Sheikah slab was broken. Even Lord Kage didn't recognize Link at first. Instead, his eyes were full of hearts. HMM. What a pretty girl. Link put his fingers on the back of his neck, tilted his head, and suddenly lifted his long hair, revealing a pair of long pointed ears, with an especially sharp look in his eyes. Lord Kage was shocked when he saw the pointed ears. "You are Zelda?" Link was furious, and was about to chop with his sword. However, Hawkeye had already shot an arrow first, but in the air, it collided strangely, and fell to the ground. Link said, "He has a shield on his body, and physical attacks can't destroy it, but it only lasts for a short time." Tony panted, "How should we deal with him?" Link shouted, "This way." He jumped high, and chopped down with all his strength. The guard's great sword released a dazzling sword light, which made the Yage warriors change color and involuntarily take a step back, and Master Kage hastily summoned an invisible shield again to resist the attack. The rest of the large number of Yage ninjas arrived just in time, and the crowd was crowded. But Link's full strength attack was not to attack the 4 Yage warriors, nor to attack Master Kage, but to look down, and the tip of the sword hit the ground hard, splitting the floor with one sword, and the ground collapsed. Link, Hawkeye, Tony, and him fell down one floor. Concrete fragments and dust were raised, blocking the view. Link shouted, "Rush out the window." Master Kage finally reacted and shouted, "Sly guys. They're running. Chase them quickly." Tony and Hawkeye immediately knew Link's plan. Tony grabbed Him, who was still in a daze, and rushed out. Him shouted, "Are you going to commit suicide?" Hawkeye shot an arrow through the bulletproof glass and jumped down from a height of 12 floors. Zelda had been looking out of the car and heard the glass shatter from a distance, and 4 people jumped out, causing a cry of surprise. Captain America and Zelda immediately rushed forward. Zelda put on her glasses and tapped the legs of her glasses with her fingers. 2 battle suits flew out of the car. One was a flying bird, and the other was Iron Man's MK6. Tony had previously given Zelda control of the MK series, and his trust was rewarded. The battle suit flew away. He yelled, making Tony's ears hurt. He squinted and saw his beloved battle suit flying over. He was happy at first, but then he was shocked. "I'm still wearing a battle suit." This battle suit was too simple, and the 2 of them had to work very hard to put it on Tony, intending to use it as a defense, but at this moment it became a crisis for Tony. Link also saw Tony's dilemma while falling at high speed, and immediately stepped on the shield, detonated the bomb and rushed over, and stabbed Tony in the head with a sword, as if he was going to cut Tony open. In this situation, Tony opened his arms, as if he was letting Link take his life. Link did not disappoint Tony's trust. In a split second, the guard's great sword flew with sparks and sword rays, digging open Tony's suit without even cutting the clothes lining Tony. The flying Iron Man immediately covered Tony, and Link kicked him into Tony's arms. Tony wanted to pull Link up, but the Yage team suppressed Tony's arc reactor, and the Yage team could not be knocked out by a punch just now. The Iron Man covered Tony, and began to show insufficient energy reserves. Link dodged Tony's hand and shouted, "Don't worry about me." Then Zelda's bird arrived in time. Link grabbed Hawkeye's hand, swung it, and threw it on the bird's back. The bird and Iron Man dived and landed smoothly. Link was ready to use the bomb stepping shield technique to land safely. But when Lord Kage saw Zelda running away, he was furious. He looked left and right, grabbed an innocent Yage ninja, and threw him down with all his might. Just as Link was about to step on the shield, the Yage ninja hit Link on the back. Link's feet were in disarray, and the bomb did not explode on the shield, but directly exploded on Link's chest. Bang! Link's eyes went black, and flew into the sky. Then he fell again. Although the bomb did not hurt Link much, it exploded right in front of him, which still caused Link's eyes to be shocked. He could not see clearly for the time being, and only felt that his body was falling heavily. Tony heard that the sound of the bomb was not right, and hurriedly turned back, and found that Link's mouth was bleeding, and his eyes were closed. He immediately turned pale, and was about to fly over to save Link. He saw a strong figure running away quickly, even leaving an after image. He predicted Link's landing point and braked suddenly, leaving black footprints on the ground. Captain America took a breath, and stretched out his hands to catch Link. Bang! The 2 of them collided, and fell to the ground, rolling for a long distance. Lord Kage yelled, "Damn it. What are you standing there for? Go and chase them." He didn't care whether he would be exposed to the public or not, as long as he caught the princess. A large number of ninjas rushed downstairs. Zelda's heart was hanging over Link's safety. Seeing that Captain America successfully caught Link, her legs softened, and she knelt on the ground, gasping for breath. Link rubbed his eyes and sat up, saying in a daze, "Thanks to you, Rogers." Although he didn't open his eyes, he had been saved by Captain America twice before, and was very familiar with Rogers' manly way of catching people. Rogers also sat up, and said with a smile, "I'm used to it. You fly around so often." Before the tick could say a few words, a golden red shadow flew over and quickly inserted itself between Link and Captain America. It grabbed one of them with each hand, and said in a muffled voice, "You guys are so leisurely. There is a large group of ninjas chasing us from behind." Captain America said, "Okay, let's start fighting." "What enemies? Run." Tony took Link and Captain America and flew away in a hurry. In the distance, Hawkeye had already landed and got into the car and drove a long way. Since the Yagay ninjas had not yet learned how to drive, they were immediately left behind by Link and the others. As everyone on the street exclaimed, Tony held one person in each hand and thanked Link and Captain America, "Thank you for coming to save me." And, "Link, you are so beautiful." Link covered his face with his hands and said to Tony, "If you still remember my kindness to you, take me to change clothes." Tony smiled and said, "Okay." Everyone stopped in front of a high-end clothing store. 3 seconds ago, it was an Italian brand with a 90-year history. 3 seconds later, it had become Tony's personal property. Link hurriedly walked into the store. In 30 seconds, he quickly changed his clothes and ran out. His hair was hastily tied into a ponytail. The makeup on his face had not been washed off. He looked soft, with red lips like blood and skin that seemed to be broken. In fact, it was already broken. But at this moment, he frowned deeply. Link came to Zelda with a gloomy face and said, "You go back first. I'll go to the banana building again." Him said, "Wait a minute, don't worry. Since I've escaped, I can take back my company in 3 days." Link took a deep breath and said, "I left Peppa in the banana building. I'm going back to find him." Link jumped off the building to ask for collection. "Thank you for the 100 starting coins reward from Lily Water Bottle. Thank you for the recommendation votes from all the book friends. Let me explain again why the author is so afraid of kind book friends sending recommendation votes to his works. This is determined by the characteristics of online writing. As a commercial writing, serving readers, online writers generally understand the feedback of each update based on comments, the number of recommendation votes on the day, and the newly added collections, and adjust the works according to the reader's reactions. Therefore, data is an important basis for authors and editors to analyze the quality of works. Sending recommendation votes will interfere with the normal data of the work and increase a large number of fake collections. Although it looks good, this kind of collection is fake, and it will drop as much as it rises. When the collections are lost, it is difficult for the author to distinguish the reason for the decline in data, whether it is because of the problem of the work or the subsequent loss of collections due to the recommendation ticket red envelope. Therefore, the author cannot adjust the work in time, and the editor will also have doubts about the performance of the work. This is the reason. I also thank all the readers who support me. Thank you for your company. Thank you for recognizing my persistence. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.